Give those thumbs up.
Okay, good. All right, we're going to call the meeting to order at this time. Thank you. Everyone, we're ready? It's on. It's on. Now it's on. It was on. All right. Well, good evening. Believe it or not, it's August 16th. School is back in. 6:30 Thursday night, and welcome to the Village Council meeting for the Village of Royal Palm Beach. I'm going to ask everyone to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Diane, please let the record show that all members of council are present this evening. And as I said, welcome. It's unbelievably mid-August already. Those of you who have children who went back to school know we're back into that routine. And really, the summer for the most of us is really over. We had a little bit of a break. Hope everybody had a good time. I know some of you went traveling abroad, way abroad. But we're back off of summer break, and it's back to work. So it's good to start this evening off with recognizing some of our outstanding employees. One of them is a presentation for 25 years of service to Stan Frogel. Stan began his career at the Village of Royal Palm Beach when he was hired by the Parks Department in 1993. Shortly after that, did I say Stan? Is Sean, transferred to Public Works Department. At that time, Sean worked on the grounds crew where he did a great job of maintaining our easements within the village. Sean now works repairing and replacing concrete with the roads and bridges crew, and also assists when needed with the drainage crew. The village can count on Sean to work hard and to be a valued crew member on any project he is tasked with. He has been a dedicated and loyal employee for 25 years and a pleasure to work beside. Sean, we thank you. Is Sean here? Oh, come on up. Sean, we thank you for your continuous hard work and look forward for another 25 years. I wish the council would join us for a picture.
Do you want to do break to number 9, or you want to talk to the evening? It's not on the agenda. You tell me what you want to do.
I just want to find out what they're doing.
You gotta tell me.
Let me think about it. I guess the last time I talked to you, whatever it was.
This might clear it up. I'll put number 9.
Thank you.
I think he was standing there saying, boy, it seemed like just yesterday I started with this crew. Right? And I told him, I thanked him for putting up with us for 25 years. So. Okay, we now have a 20-year Years of Service Award for Anthony Genovese. Anthony began working with the village in July 28, 1998, as a General Maintenance Worker 1. He began working with the grounds crew, maintaining the landscaping throughout the village, and Anthony also worked with the road and bridges, assisting in repair and maintenance of drainage. In 2003, Anthony was transferred to the electrical division of Public Works, where he went back to school and completed the 4-year educational apprenticeship program. I just want to sidebar here. I'm become a little familiar with this program. It's a tremendous program, but it is challenging. It is not a cakewalk. You got to work to get through this. It's not just the books. It's actual hands-on, demonstrating that you're acquiring the skill set that they're teaching there. So well done. His perseverance and dedication to improve himself is a true asset to the Village of Royal Palm Beach. congratulations to you, Anthony, on 20 years of service. Thank you. Councilman Glenn?
Shannon, did you want any pictures in the lobby with,
The regular agenda? Okay. It's always a great opportunity to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the people who work here in this village, because they are what helps this village be who we are. And the fact that we've got employees who've been with us for a long time is indicative of, our leadership that we have running, our staff, and the fact that this is not only a great place to live, it's a great place to work, I hope. So glad to have them this evening. All right, at this time, we're going to do our reports. As I said, we're coming off a little bit of a summer break, but I'm going to start with reports with you, Jack.
Good evening, everyone. So Councilman Hamira and I attended the Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce's Education Economic Luncheon today. Dr. Fenoy, our new superintendent, spoke a lot about the strategic plan and the direction of the school, and it's on pace. But I wanted to share a couple of statistics about their improvement and their use of the penny sales tax. So over the summer, they started 177 projects and accomplished 112. Wow. 157 new school buses. For my student who was riding the school bus last year, that's a big improvement. So she's really excited about that. And then in addition to that, it was school safety. So 650 new police officers, 24 new vehicles, and 56 new white fleet. Our school district is growing. We are now the 10th largest school district in the country, not the 11th, and projections of student increases from 170,000 to 195 next year. Anyways, I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the other thing I just wanted to say is it's early voting season. If you want to early vote, it's palmbeachcountyelections.org. You can see who you can vote for and all the polling places. And it's from now until just before the election.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Keeping up with the school theme, our Education Advisory Board had its first meeting of the school year on Monday. It was an organizational meeting. All 6 new members of our board attended. Each one had an opportunity to, first of all, it was sworn in by our village clerk prior to the meeting, and each one had an opportunity to actually introduce themselves at the meeting. And actually, Diane presided over the meeting initially until the next activity took place, which was the selection of the chairperson for the coming year, which was Dr. Bill Tallemeyer. And also the vice chair was selected, Miss Crystal Clark. Both of them have a lot of experience in running meetings, and Dr. Tallemeyer just stepped right in and picked up the agenda right midway and relieved Diane of her responsibilities residing. If that brief experience is any indication of the kind of year we're going to have, I think it's going to be a very successful year. So we're looking forward to it. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Richard.
Basically, guess I'm just piggybacking on Jan's reports. Number one is, I think this is our last meeting before the actual elections. So we have, I believe it's August 28th is the primary, and a lot of the judicial races are on the ballot as well. So I'd encourage everyone to get out on August 28th and vote. And then secondly, I can attest to what Jan said about the money being spent, particularly here in our schools. I noticed on the first day of school, my son takes the bus to Royal Palm Beach High, and they got a much nicer bus this year. And some of the money has been spent at, for fences and improvements over at Cypress Trails Elementary. So our tax dollars are going to work here in the village.
Good.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the building department. I had one of the residents called who said thank you very much, that they felt that you advocated for her with her contractor when they were doing some renovations on her house. The contractor had wanted to do some things, and you guys stepped in and really advocated for her, was the word she used. So thank you very much. The other thing is, one of the things that on the ballot that we've talked about coming up in November is the homestead exemption. So if you go to Palm Beach County League of Cities.com, they actually have a video on it explaining what's to come up and just a good explanation of it. So it's a bipartisan way of explaining it to you to clear and understand. I'd like to say congratulations to Aaron Franklin and our Park and Rec department, because they work together that they're going to add 2 more little free libraries to the village. So thank you very much to Lou and his staff for adding those in there. And thank you to the staff in the Young at Heart. We had our senior expo on Friday, so it was wonderful. It was a great attended event. We had it over at the Rec Center this year. And also the Young at Heart membership begins their drive on September 4th. So to keep that in mind. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Lena.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer.
No report, thank you.
All right, thank you all. That concludes our reports. And thank you all for bringing up, reminding people about our elections.
Non-agenda items.
Not 9? Okay, thank you. Okay. At this time, if anyone has a petition to present to the council, now would be the time to do that. Seeing no petitions, okay, we'll move forward from there. And right now I have one card for an item, someone wants to speak on an item not in the agenda. So I'm going to ask him to come up. Robert Carter?
My name's Robert Carter, 108 Pepper Tree Crescent, Royal Palm. I thought we were on an agenda for something with the canals today. I don't see it.
Item 9 is a canal related
It's the one
issue.
for that?
Yeah.
The last one.
Okay, well, I thought that was, I didn't see it. What are we doing with the canals? Do we get any prices, or pick up the gear and start going on this? I mean, the canals are looking good now. 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, we're gonna have the same problem, cost more money, buy a machine, less problem. You have a machine out there for any day you wanna have it. It's not a big deal. He says, you got plenty of money.
We are playing, okay.
Huh? How much money do you have on reserves?
We're working on it. Thank you for your comments, but we're working on it. We're definitely working on it.
Working on it, you gotta get real busy on it.
Okay,
before something
Rob.
happens.
Okay. Thank you for your input, sir. I have no other comment cards for items that are not on the agenda or items that are on a consent agenda. But anyone here who would like to speak on a non-agenda item or a consent agenda item, now would be the time. All right, seeing none, I'm closing. Oh, go ahead. You wanted to speak, sir? Come on up.
Okay. My name is Ralph Lewis, and I am located at 425 North Flagler Drive, West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm here on behalf of the Hat Foundation today, and the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this is because I wanted to make everyone aware of every 3.6 seconds there's a child in hunger. This year, for Palm Beach County, that I'm hosting a March for Hunger, and I wanted to see if I can engage all of you guys into coming to the March for Hunger as a councilman and mayors. I've got Boynton Beach to agree to it, Lake Worth to agree to it, Lantana to agree to it, and Delray Beach, of course, which we're hosting the event at. I wanted to know, is there a possible way I can set up a meeting with you guys, or how do I get to talk to you guys individually if you guys cannot make a decision right now upon coming to the
We're not going to make a decision about something we don't know anything about. Here's what I'd like you to do. Leave your information with the clerk, all right?
Okay.
And I'll see if I can get our village manager to reach out and give you a call.
All right, no problem. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else here with item not on the agenda? Consent agenda? Going once, going twice? Okay, I'm going to close public comment on non-agenda items and on consent agenda. And we're going to move on with the reading of consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 1, approval of the minutes of the budget workshop meeting and council regular meeting of July 19, 2018. 2, approval and authorization in accordance with established policy to make a budget amendment for Fund 303 in the fiscal year 2017-2018 budget. Said amendment to transfer a total of $45,750 from undesignated fund balance 3990100 to AC replacement PW 1705. 3, approval and authorization for the village manager to execute a first addendum to lease agreement in order to extend the United States Postal Service's lease of a 530 square foot area located in Village Hall, currently used as a post office facility, for an additional 5-year term. 4, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into a contract for auditing services with Kaler, Daunton, Levine, Porter, and Vale for a period of 5 years, 2018 through 2022, with a 5-year option to renew. 5, approval and authorization for the village manager to enter into a renewal contract with Collie Doctor Plus, a renewal contract with Cigna Healthcare to provide health and life disability insurance for the employees of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, and a renewal contract with Horizon Health Aetna for an employee assistance program. 6, authorization for the mayor of the Village of Royal Palm Beach to sign an affidavit to be recorded in the public records of Palm Beach County, Florida, regarding the interpretation of a deed restriction and deed reverter clause for the property owned by the First Baptist Church of Royal Palm Beach, Incorporated, located at 10701 Okeechobee Boulevard. 7, approval and authorization for village manager to execute consultant agreement with Thompson Consulting Services, LLC, to provide debris load monitoring for the 2018 hurricane season. This agreement piggybacks the agreement with the Palm Beach County Solid Waste Authority for these services.
Okay, any comments from member on council? If not, I'll look for motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show the consent agenda was approved 5-0. And with that, we'll move right to the regular agenda item R1, which is a public hearing for first reading and approval of ordinance number 960 and an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for 10 tracts of land totaling approximately 11.20 acres from Palm Beach County's low residential LR2 and the village's open space in single-family land use designation to the village's commercial land use designation located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.7 of a mile west of State Road 7.
Great, thank you, Mayor. Tonight's meeting is unique since the items on the agenda are for comprehensive land use map amendments, which are intended to accomplish an overall master plan for the area behind Lowe's. The village staff evaluated each application in accordance with the review requirements of village code and the village's comprehensive plan. Much of the evaluation requirements revolved around, will this project exacerbate any existing public facility capacity deficits in regards to the roadway network, sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, potable water, and recreation, along with request compatibility with the adjacent land uses. This slide illustrates the master plan. The proposed master plan sets the table, so to speak, for the applicant's overall vision for this area and shows how each pod is situated among the other pods. At the beginning of each presentation for the different applications, the pod will be highlighted to show where it is positioned within the master plan. Along with the master plan, the Palms West Corridor study is useful in evaluating the suitability of the proposed development with the community or surrounding area. The result of the study was a plan recommending how the corridor should build out. A summation of the findings and recommendation are as follows. Comprises areas of low-density residential, which is a figment of the county's historical planning for this area as a suburban fringe area. Land use planning in the future by area municipalities should address the corridor area as a rising urban edge center in the county. Year 2015 unmet land uses needs based on numerous market analyses for hotel, motel, entertainment, office, and light industrial uses. Focus future development in mixed-use activity nodes. Activity nodes should also incorporate desired non-residential and higher density residential uses. Increase building height, possibly up to 5 to 7 stories. Develop attractive land use conversion system to encourage conversion of residential uses to desired non-residential uses. Encourage internal access between commercial and adjoining residential developments, and provide pedestrian connections and crossings at signalized intersections. As stated, the applicant is seeking a large-scale future land use map amendment to change the land use designation for 10 tracts totaling approximately 11.2 acres of land from Palm Beach County's low residential and the village's open space and single-family land use designation to the village's commercial land use designation, located at the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.7 of a mile west of State Road 7. These tracts consist of several single-family homes on large tracts and formerly owned by Lake Worth Drainage District. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to develop the property for roadway purposes, to provide secondary ingress and egress point for the area to State Road 7. This application encompasses the area shown here in blue and will provide an east-west connection from the entrance road off of Southern Boulevard to State Road 7. This slide begins a review of the application based on the requirements of Village Code and the Village's comprehensive plan. Much of this evaluation requirements revolve around public facility capacities and compatibility with surrounding areas. These slides are the same for each application, so instead of reading the criteria over and over again for each application, I will just do that for this application so that council and the public will only hear it once. Okay, goal LU1 of the comprehensive plan, a mix of compatible land uses which meets the needs of the village residents, maintains and enhances the community character, does not adversely impact existing neighborhood, and is developed concurrently with the needed infrastructure and facilities. Staff found the proposed comprehensive plan amendment to assign the subject cited future land use designation of commercial will allow for the accommodation of the proposed roadway. Through site design, the project will maintain and enhance the community character and have a minimal impact on the adjoining neighborhood. The applicant is proposing a 25-foot landscape buffer along the roadway to minimize the adverse impacts of the residents to the south. This road will also be separated from residential properties by an 80-foot Lake Worth Drainage District canal. There will be a portion, however, that will not be able to provide the 25-foot buffer due to a pinch point within the Lake Worth Drainage District S4 canal, as shown here on this slide. The closest point along this lot's property line is a little over 40 feet from the roadway. Objective LU 1.1 of the comprehensive plan should be directed to an area of suitable topography and soils. The subject site has suitable topography and soil conditions for development of the roadway. For development orders and permits for development activities may be supported by the village. LU 1.2 of the comprehensive plan seeks to achieve direct development into areas where public facilities are available. The subject site is proposed to feature construction of a roadway from Tuttle Boulevard to State Road 7 and also includes a connection to the residential developments to the west and south, as well as pods 7 and 8. Objective LU 1.4 of the comprehensive plan seeks to protect natural resources. The proposed development of the roadway does not negatively impact natural resources and is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan. An environmental assessment has been provided to the village of Royal Palm Beach as part of the comprehensive plan amendment submittal. LU 1.4.3 of the comprehensive plan seeks to protect potable water, well fields, and aquifer recharge areas. The subject site is not located within a well field protection area, and a copy of the county's well field zones has been provided to the village demonstrating that. Developer, owner of the site shall be responsible for the management of runoff. The developer understands that the drainage requirements for the proposed roadway must be met in accordance with all rules and regulations and has provided a drainage statement as part of the submittal confirming the ability to manage runoff in accordance with all rules and regulations. Policy LU 1.1.4.6 of the comprehensive plan seeks to achieve the eradication of invasive exotic plant species upon development of the site. The applicant has provided assurances any invasive exotic plant species that must be eliminated will be done so in accordance with village requirements and will be concurrent with the commencement of development activity. LU 1.5 of the comprehensive plan seeks to discourage urban sprawl. The development of the site is consistent with the character of the surrounding area and does not create any incompatible uses. The site is currently considered an enclave, as it is primarily vacant, surrounded by the developed land. The comprehensive plan amendment is necessary for the development of the roadway connection. The approval of the future land use facilitates the promotion of development in the area. Policy T 1.3.1 of the comprehensive plan seeks to require all future land use amendments to demonstrate that the roadway improvements required to maintain levels of service identified in policy T 1.16 will be in place to accommodate projected traffic impacts. There are no trips associated with this application since it will be developed as a roadway to support the proposed overall master plan. Section 2632 F2B outlines the review criteria for village code. The first one is whether action requested will contribute to a public hazard described in sub-elements of the comprehensive plan. As we discussed, the proposed development will meet the required levels of service. Service provider letters from the applicable agencies have been provided. Whether the action requested will generate public facility demands that may be accommodated by capacity increases. The commercial future land use will not impact levels of service. The proposed development will meet the required levels of service. Whether the action requested, whether the action requested conforms with the future land uses, the proposed development will meet the required levels of service. Let's skip to one. The proposed future land use designation of commercial will accommodate the roadway connection. The public facilities required for the project will meet all adopted levels of service at such time that development programs commence. If the public facilities are provided in part or whole by the village, is the action financially feasible? The public facilities required for the project will meet the adopted level of service standards and will be consistent with the capital improvement elements. There are no public facilities requested by the applicant at this time. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment from Palm Beach County's low residential and village's open space and single-family land use designations to the village's commercial land use designation is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with adjacent future land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level of service standards. Finally, the proposed land use amendment package is consistent with the requirements of Chapter 163 of Florida statute. The local planning agent considered this application August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 4-1. Staff is recommending approval of this application, Mayor. I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bradford. I think you already indicated that all of the items, all the way down through agenda, regular items, what, 8, 7?
6.
Through 6, rather. You've already given a portion of the presentation that you won't have to repeat in the other items.
Correct.
They're all
Unless
kind
you
of-
want me to.
No, I just want to make sure that
I've whittled the rest
everybody
of
knows
the
that you've covered the
down quite a
information.
bit, so.
At this time, I'd like, if the applicant would like to make a comment, now would be a good time. You can go to the other one if you want, or you want, oh, Bradford, she's,
Yeah, I'm
Okay, you getting this
just
set up?
trying to minimize hers and bring hers up. Or mine, bring hers up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Alessandria Palmer, for the record, with Urban Design Kildare Studios, here tonight on behalf of TLH Development Corporation. I will try my best not to repeat anything and to make this brief. We just have some graphics and some other information we felt might be helpful for you with this application. I think you all know where the location is, so I won't dwell on that. We do have our entire team here tonight if you have any questions, the applicant, TLH, the developers, as well as all of our consultants. Just to kind of give you a big picture here from where we are in the process and for those who might be interested in the audience, as you know, tonight we are requesting the future land use applications for 6 of what we're calling pods within the master plan. However, we do have some pending applications that will and have been referred to this evening. We have a master plan, which I'll show you in just a minute, along with its special exception approval, a landscape waiver, which Bradford explained, as well as a master preliminary plat and a land use application for Pod 8, which we are referring to as a park pod. Those are all in the system. We also have some applications that we plan to be submitting over the next couple of months for these same exact parcels for rezoning site plan and, of course, the plats as well. So as Bradford already mentioned to you, we are on the Lowe's Road pod, and he indicated the location, so I'll zip through these real quick, if I can. Sorry, uh-oh. Something happened there. I apologize. And as Bradford mentioned, we are going to a commercial land use for the road. That includes Erica Boulevard as well as Luff's Road. Erica is the east-west, and Luff's is the north-south extension. This is the master plan. I just thought it might be helpful to see all the pods in context together on one page here, especially for people who might be, again, interested in the audience. Right now, we're talking about the area in pink, which is, again, Lowe's Road. However, all 6 pods are on the screen before you. We have Pod 6 to the north, which is the commercial pod, Pod 2 to the west, which is one of the multifamily apartment pods, Pod 4 right below that to the south is the single-family pod. To the east of that is Pod 8, which is not, again, on the agenda tonight, but also part of the big picture. Just to the north of those 2 pods is Pod 7, which is charter school use. And then to the east of Pod 6, the commercial, is Pod 3, which is the multifamily apartments. Again, not on your agenda tonight, but this is just a conceptual master plan for a matter of interest, and also to understand the maximum entitlements that we are proposing with land use applications tonight. With this entire master plan, it would be a total of 106 single-family homes, 719 multifamily units, which includes both apartments and townhomes, a 1,500 student charter school, and up to 340,000 of non-residential square footage.
Erica, real quick, I'm sorry to send you back, but the student number that you had there, is that including the daycare, or is that just the charter school?
That is just the charter
Thanks.
school.
It's a K through 12?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. No problem. Okay, this slide just gives you an idea of all the different interconnectivity components of this master plan. That was a big deal for us when putting this master plan together, and for staff, of course, as well. We wanted to make sure that we could provide as much access as possible through the property for the users of the properties, as well as for visitors to the property and people who are just wanting to circumvent some of the roads around the property altogether. We have access from Southern Boulevard through Tuttle Boulevard. We also have access out to State Road 7 from Erica Boulevard. And then we have a secondary access on Acme Road to both Southern and State Road 7. We also have noted on this plan, which is something that we're excited about, is a multimodal hub, which is being proposed in Pod 6, which is part of staff's recommendation and on the applicant's agreement, and we hope to have a good mass transit presence in that hub moving forward. I'm going to pass it along to our traffic engineer, Susan O'Rourke, real quick, just to briefly go over the traffic, because that was a big part of this approval, obviously.
I'm Susan O'Rourke with O'Rourke Engineering and Planning, for the record. I have 33 years of experience as a traffic engineer. I wanted to just, I won't go through all of this, but I'm putting this up here because I think it's important for you to realize how much review. I'm not the only set of eyes that have gone into reviewing this and putting this together. Each of the pods has been reviewed by your staff as well as the county. And as part of receiving the county letter, we had to provide a very specific, detailed analysis that also had to be reviewed by the DOT and their planning department, because we sit on what's called the Strategic Intermodal System, which is Southern Boulevard. And we've been into the initial design aspects of the project to ensure that what we were proposing could in fact be constructed. So you can see there have been several years of analysis. Your staff also asked us to do some supplemental analysis related to travel times along the corridors. So the improvements that are, they're not conditioned as part of the land use, but they are conditioned. If I click this one, I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so yeah, I'm a traffic engineer, not an IT guy. So this is just briefly shows you, these are what our conditions. We can't pull a building permit or a certificate of occupancy without having these improvements in place. So you can see you've already approved Pod 1. They've got a commitment in the prop share agreement along with the improvements at the bridge. You can see that there's a five outbound lanes at the intersection of what's now Tuttle, 103rd, and Southern. That's the new major piece of infrastructure. Then that travels south on Tuttle, was it Boulevard, to Erica Boulevard, which becomes Lowe's Road, and connects out to State Road 7 at another signal, which we're in the process of beginning the signal warrants and doing the initial design permitting on that. We have an obligation for proportionate share payments for Southern, Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, and State Road 7. And we've got additional lanes at the intersection of State Road 7 and Lowe's Road to include dual left turns northbound, a left and a through on each of the east and west approaches once it's signalized. So very briefly, I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Just one question. The signal you're showing on State Road 7, that's new.
Pardon me?
At the Lowe's exit, that's a new
Yes.
signal.
That's the new signal
Okay.
that is the obligation
So
of the
you will be able to
applicant.
make left turns out of there.
Correct,
Okay.
absolutely.
Or go straight across. Yeah. Chick-fil-A. Okay.
Not on Sundays.
It's hard to remember.
Another thing I wanted to mention, which was in the staff reports, as you have probably seen, is the applicant's commitment and assurances. We are in agreement with all of those requirements, and we understand completely that we will not move to second reading and see you all again until we provide the recorded access easement from Lowe's. Lastly, I just wanted to hit on a couple landscape items pertaining to Lowe's Road in particular. We will be doing, and have already designed actually, a major streetscape plan for all the internal roadways within the project. Royal Palms every 30 feet on center. It's going to be quite beautiful. But as part of that, and as Bradford had mentioned already, we are going to need a landscape waiver as part of the Lowe's Road application for a portion of the buffer tract within Lowe's Road pod that cannot be 25 feet in width due to a narrowing up to the Lake Worth Drainage District property that we have no ownership rights to, so we cannot plant in that area. It will taper from 25 to 0 feet over about 120 feet. We have done our community outreach with Victoria Groves. We have met with them on several occasions. 2 members of their board are here this evening. We met with them as recently as last week. They are aware of the waiver and, of course, all the other components of this project that we will be moving forward with. So if you have any questions for them, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer them. And lastly, we did want to flash some bells and whistles here. We have been working on a new design for an artistic design for the Tuttle Boulevard Bridge, which is actually different from what was originally approved, and we will have to come back with this design, but we're really excited about it. We feel that it's it really reflects the village and Royal Palms. We have used a lot of the palm artwork, and there will also be some very fun lighting that will display through the different seasons of the year and whatnot. So you'll hear more about that later, but this is just a concept of how that is all
You
going.
guys been talking to Jan?
And that concludes my Lowe's Road presentation. I promise the others are much shorter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we go to comments from members on council, I do have 2 comment cards. And the first one would be Ray Castro. Please come up. Say again?
David's got a card there too.
You choose not to speak? Oh, this is a onesie twosie? Okay, David, come on up.
Good evening. My name is David Swift. I'm a Royal Palm Beach resident. Without a lot of discussion, our Planning and Zoning Commission approved this phase of the project moving forward by understand a vote of 4-1, which I find kind of incredible, given the obvious problem of this project of this size is brought forward regarding traffic impacts and concerns about public safety for our residents. The P&Z recognized that it does not take a traffic engineer to understand that a project of this size and magnitude will have a large impact on traffic flow at State Road 7 and Southern Boulevard. The addition of this project and the new community of Arden to the west and several other recently county-approved developments in the acreage to the north will absolutely crush this intersection and the surrounding neighborhood. Right now, trying to get through the intersection at noon on typical weekdays is very, very difficult. Seniors should be concerned because this project will impact emergency response times to Wellington Regional Hospital and their new stroke center. I have recently learned time is your brain, and any time that a project delays an emergency vehicle response time by even a minute results in millions of brain cells lost to a stroke victim. This project is to be ultimately approved. I think the council should demand that there be no reduction in emergency response times to any of our hospitals. Crime and drugs. The mini city place or entertainment center proposed for this project has the potential to attract a lot more drugs and violence in our area as the bad guys and the gangs in West Palm Beach and Belle Glade discover Royal Palm Beach now has an entertainment center, bars and restaurants where they can hang out during the evening and interact with our children. Drugs are already a major growing problem in the Royal Palm Beach, Wellington acreage area for our young people. I was hoping the developer would be marketing more of a family-type venue for our proposed commercial area rather than recreating a failed project in West Palm Beach. We need to talk about this a lot more in the coming months. I'm retired, but however, for many of you on the council, you have young children or very young children growing up in this community. With your vote, you would directly impact what environment that they will grow up in our community. The question you have to ask yourself, am I certain this project will be safe for my kids, my neighbors, and the residents of this village? It's up to the developer to prove to you and the rest of this community that this project will benefit our town, and in my opinion, has a very long way to go. In closing, are we going to stay closer to what we have in the past called our little town Newberry, the small town concepts which we've all known for the last 20 years? Are we going to become a mini downtown West Palm Beach? And I hope tonight Mr. Tuttle would speak to some of these issues. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, David. Ray?
My name is Ray Casto. I am a full-time resident in Royal Palm Beach. I have been for 20-some years. I served on council in 1989, 90, 91, and 92. And one of our objectives at that time was to try to keep major developments that create more traffic within the village out. And we were very good at it. We also had people coming in wanting to build 6 and 7 stories building, and we never approved one of them. I sort of like the idea that we're not downtown West Palm Beach with all these concrete buildings sticking up in the air. I attended the P&Z meeting Tuesday night and heard twice that this project will be no impact on the citizens of Royal Palm Beach. I heard it once tonight. I think you ought to drop that line, because adding 2,000 houses to that area, also the number that shows 825 is one pod, and when I asked if that was the total number of units, I finally got an answer that said their master plan would let them build 1,000. Well, if I'm correct, 1,000 converts into about 2,000 automobiles a day. 2 people to a house. Most households have 2 cars. In my neighborhood, some have 3 or 4. But it's going to create traffic problems. We have a high school that in the mornings, while it's up and running and trying to get in, it would be easier to buy a helicopter. It's a tremendous traffic jam. It's not safe. Routing people through your development and on through there only creates more traffic somewhere else. It doesn't alleviate traffic. You have the new Arden out here that's going to build 2,000 homes. At least that's their plan. There's another 4,000 cars coming this way. This doesn't seem to me that this makes logical sense to put something there. When the Wellington developers for the Wellington Mall first came to town, they wanted to be here. They wanted to have the corner of State Road 7 and Southern Boulevard where that shopping center is. And that's what they came in and pitched to us, was buying all of that and putting in what's over in Wellington, the big shopping center in Wellington. Fortunately, we got enough votes on council to send them down the road and was happy that they went to Wellington. It would have been a disaster. I think this is going to be a disaster. I think you need to start asking some really hard questions. And number one may be, where are they getting all the money for this somehow? And is it ever going to get completed if they start? Thank you and good luck.
Thanks for your comments, Rick. Okay. I do not have any other comment cards on this item. If there's anyone else who would like to speak, now would be the time to come up. If not, I'm closing public comment on agenda item number 1. I'm going to open up for comments from members on council, and if the applicant would like to make any further comments, I would let them open it up for them too. So I don't have any lights.
I'll give you one.
Go ahead.
So we've heard from some of the residents and tonight, but also we've heard by email and other mechanisms that there's a logical concern about traffic and the traffic impact of this development. Heard a couple of key words that kind of address that, but I'd like the developer to perhaps elaborate on concepts of capture and the use of that road as a bypass for the troublesome intersection that we all know at Southern and State Road 7, and anything else that might give us some ideas of how the design features here might very well mitigate what otherwise would seem to be a pretty significant impact at an intersection that's already troubled. So would you like to address that?
Yeah, my name is Brian Tuttle. I am the master developer.
I don't think it's on, Brian.
My name is Brian Tuttle. I'm the master developer, and as soon as my IT land planner all-around person gets it on the screen, I'll that's fine.
There it
is. First off, I understand Mr. Swift and Mr. Castro's comments, and I respect those comments. And the bottom line is we feel that our project, I'll deal with both issues. The first issue is the entertainment district. My son, who so eloquently called it a city place, I reminded him if he ever did an interview like that again, make sure after the interview he asked him if they had a job. City Place, the concept of City Place where they failed was it was supposed to be a place where families could go and hang out. And where we feel will be fundamentally different is our activity center is a neighborhood-oriented, family, local business type center. We're focusing on what the residents leave the area for to provide here so they don't leave the area, which will reduce the traffic impacts. First of all, when you want to go to a nice dinner and you live in Wellington or Royal Palm or these other communities, you go down Southern, you go to City Place, you go to PGA, or you go to Atlantic. And that's what the younger people do. And there's nothing out here where you can go and eat dinner and stroll around and have ice cream and there's, look at the landscaping. There might be some guys out with a guitar playing, and you can sit in a patio and relax. And there's nothing like that out here. So everyone here who wants to do that on date night or during the week or whatever has to go down south. So our goal is to have it will be a restaurant dining type experience for either lunch or dinner. The other part of it is, as I've also explained, is, we're not bringing in the large fitness, LA Fitness, or we're bringing in a lot of smaller fitnesses, an Orange Theory, a hot yoga, Orange Theory, smaller local businesses with local people where you come and you work out during the day. The idea is you can either live here and you take your kids to school and you can go work out, or your kids go to the park at night and you can go over and maybe go to the a large high-end sports bar and have a beer and watch a basketball while your kids are at the park. They're close, they're safe, and you're not on the road. The other concept is there's no parks south of Southern Boulevard. So anyone who's in the village who wants to go to a park has to go down 441 and use that road. And again, all that traffic now will not have to do that. It'll be able to go into our community. So we believe that the activity center is, while it will be restaurant themed, it'll have very little soft goods. It'll be very oriented on local businesses and stuff like that. With respect to the traffic, one of our big times, it took us 2.5 years to get here. It's been a long, long time getting here to work out the traffic that everyone was happy with. And it was a lot of, push and shoving, and we've come up with a plan that we believe best suits the village. And the fact is that all those new residents out west now who want to go south on 441 will now be able to have a choice of going through our community to do that or avoiding that intersection. Plus, all the residents who want to head west will have a choice of going through our community and doing that. Plus, we also solved the dilemma of the Lowe's Home Depot entrance. I mean, I think she did an accident report. There's quite a few accidents there. And so this light solves all those problems. So while I understand it is more homes, I understand it is traffic, it does provide some bypasses and some interconnectivity. So that's kind of my response on that. So with respect to the crime thing, and when I met with the commissioners, and I did meet with each one, Dad, for a question and answer session, is I made it very, very clear that, this is not a subdivision we're selling. We're keeping this. My son is here, and my daughter will be here. She's stuck in traffic. This is our long...
Really?
She's stuck on 95. She sent me a picture of 95, that parking lot. Yeah. But we intend to make this a place where we hang out. And as I've told you guys, we talked about this and you couldn't believe me. There'll be a sheriff's substation here. There will not be kids on skateboards disrupting things. This will be a very safe community because it only works if you want to hang out there, right? The idea is you've got a preschool for your kids, you've got the park, you've got the K through 12, you've got everything you need that you want to come here and hang out, and you don't use the roads going east. That's my response to those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, Mr. Tuttle, one question though is when you had talked about when you addressed the safety concern, and thank you very much for doing that. Are you proposing that you have your own police in there or your own security in there versus PBSO?
We will probably, and I always say when you don't know the answer, say, I don't know. We will have, I'm sure, a combination of deputies and private. I'm a former policeman, And while security guards are great, there ain't nothing like having that green car there. So there'll be a combination, I'm sure.
But just a side note on that. One of the things we do every year is we sit down with Captain Naox and PBSO and assess what changes or growth activities have occurred in the village. And we don't just talk about currently, we do talk about down the road, what do we see happening 3, 4, 5 years, and projecting force requirements for that. So that's a continual process of making sure, as we do have new things happening in the village and any growth that happens, that we're addressing it from that perspective on a continual basis as well. So,
And that was my,
yeah.
the other thought process is the burden of the expense too, so.
That's the expense is not the issue because there's revenues being generated here, tax dollars. All right, and we've addressed that too. I mean, whenever there's an activity in the village, and there was some annexation, voluntary annexation property process that went on here, we always assess what the cost for that's going to be and what the, to see if that balances it. And that we don't anticipate that being an issue. Okay.
I guess my question was for Bradford. Basically, the thing that's before us now is a change, and it looks like it's just providing the traffic infrastructure for this development, correct?
That's correct.
And it's sufficient to provide what it's necessary to sustain it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all my question. Thank you.
Jeff.
One of the key features here is the traffic light on State Road 7. What kind of assurances do we have that that traffic light's going to occur, given that it's a state road?
We have to post a surety for that signal, and mathematically, it would be warranted today. It's even without the left turns, it would be warranted with the volumes that are out there today.
And as Bradford reminded me, we did a conceptual study. It's already been warranted. We have to post a bond for the full amount. Then she'll go out and do studies. And as soon as the actual traffic exceeds the numbers, then we actually build it. So we believe we'll have to build it at the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the height of the hotel or proposed buildings? I'm curious as to the history of what our building code has been and the new proposition.
The applicant is proposing a hotel motel according to their traffic performance standards letter. As far as the height is concerned, I think that you will see a more traditional style hotel motel where you would have, in this zoning district, a maximum 32 feet in height and 3 stories. I think the applicant has indicated that he would be looking to maybe get some lenience from that. We do have buildings within the Village of Royal Palm Beach that do exceed the 32 feet in height. And so when staff evaluates that, we will go out and we'll look at those other approvals that allowed for the buildings to exceed that 32 feet in height and bring it forth within our evaluation so that that can be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
Allie would like to talk about a study. There was a Royal Palm, explain it?
I was just saying that the height that that has been discussed for her, the hotel, which was indicated as a use approval as part of our traffic in Pod 6, is consistent with the corridor studies that had looked at doing about 5 stories, I think, plus for what Bradford had referred to in his report as part of these mixed-use nodes throughout the corridor. So I was just saying that this would be consistent with that height, with those heights that were envisioned for these areas.
Thank you.
And that is correct. In the Palms West corridor that we had completed in 2000, and when we looked at this entire corridor, one of the things that came out of that study was desired land use of entertainment. The other one, it commented on hotel or motel. And if you don't go to it, and even in this report, it identified between 5 and 7 stories if you want a name brand hotel. If you're just doing a motel, it'll be in the lower one. But if you wanted if you wanted that. And it was identified in the study, and it has been mentioned by Brian. And his point to us was, if we want a Hilton, if we want a Hyatt, we got to go to that. They otherwise, that's just not their model. They won't build anything, and we'll get not that.
So we're looking at potentially 5 stories?
But whatever it is, I want to give council some assurance here that if it's a code change or a variance that he's proposing to get the extra height, that will have to come back to you for a separate approval. You're not deciding that
Yeah,
tonight.
nothing tonight is giving that approval.
Nothing tonight is given that approval. And we did follow the Palms West Corridor study,
yeah.
and we routinely gave variances over the last 18 years over the 32 feet along that corridor as a result of that.
Yeah, I apologize because this was before my time in 2000. I moved here in 2001. Now, the corridor study was done by who?
The corridor study was, the consultant was PBS&J.
Yes.
Yeah, and Urban Design at the time.
Okay.
It was a joint project between Wellington, Royal Palm Beach, Green Acres, and Palm Beach County.
Okay, so it's something we did with other municipalities. Now, at the end of this, did we endorse it, adopt it, just say, okay, we like it, and just leave it there, or what happened?
All the agencies endorsed it, and we've been following it. And it had a lot of things in it, like interconnection between all the properties. So that was kind of what we used to get the interconnection. You can come off of State Road 80 into that Lowe's driveway, and you can get all the way to the south end of the village without going on State Road 7. And Wellington was doing the same thing in all their approvals. When they would be doing something large like their medical arts division, we would compare it to the study, and they were following the same rules. It asked for more job-based out there. I think our average of jobs was 0.25 per capita, and they were in the county's average and state average was 0.46. So they kind of identified it as a place for medical offices and other offices and the retail. Okay. And it said desired retail. I mean, whatever didn't describe that,
but this is something that the village has previously, long before any of us were up here, had agreed to or signed
it
on
was.
for.
I mean, we went through a long period of every one of our commercial land use changes were objected to, and this village. In doing that, we did studies like this, and we used these studies to justify the land use changes.
Yeah.
Brian, can you talk a little bit about the any assurances you can give us with regard to the mix of businesses and services that seem to be so key to this? Notionally, they're very appealing, and they sound like the kinds of things millennials and young adults and young families might be really interested in, but they are really key.
Yeah, and what it won't be is a retail strip mall. We're not marketing to any soft goods. They call retail stores like I don't know, go shop JCPenney's or whatever. They call them soft goods type stores. We're not marketing to any of those. These are all stores that you have to go to, like a Verizon store. We're actually talking to some name brand spas that are in other places to open up places here, nail salons, just only places you have to go to. I personally believe with the advent of driverless cars and the internet and the retail therapy, that the retail transition, that, certain studies say that 50% of all retail will go cold in the next 8 to 10 years. So our goal is to capture smaller spaces, no big boxes, smaller spaces where more local businesses. The other concept that we're looking at, which is really exciting, is they've got one in California, Tampa, and New York. They have what they call as a high-end gourmet food court. And it's a large building. When I say large, I mean it's like 10,000 square feet. And it's got in the middle is a very high-end eating area, and then they have like 6 to 8 to 10 small kitchens where gourmet chefs who don't have enough money to open their own restaurant can lease a space and start building their business and work on running a business and kind of get into venture capital. And then as they grow, they move out, another guy moves in, or if they need more work, they close and another guy moves in. So we're excited about that, and it's a nice hangout place because people go there on Fridays or Saturdays or Thursdays, and they try different foods and they meet their friends, and it's like a place for social for families. So that's the type of thing we're looking at.
Are there any developments like that in existence that you know of in South Florida area, in Palm Beach County, or any place else?
I know of none around here. There's one in Tampa, and then there's one in Cleveland. The architect that I've hired, Vic Dorsky Yu, is from Cleveland. Great city, great football team.
There's also
Okay, you're wandering, Brian.
yeah.
You just lost Richard, by the way.
Remember, it takes a confident man to be
Yeah,
a
that's-
Cleveland Browns fan. But when we get closer to that, you know, I always say, any of us who have meetings with me, I goes, worry about problem 27 when we get there. You know, 25 is, can I get a Marriott or a Hyatt, and can I get them to come in at 5 stories? You know, can I get there? When I get this concept, then we will bring it to you with some elevations and some pictures and some actual tenants where you'll have the right to say, yeah, I like that, or no, it's this. And, you know, it's our intention to work very closely with the village on this project. And we intend to be a long-term neighbor, long-term.
Just to add to the question, Jeff, there is Grandview Marketplace. It's downtown West Palm. It's just south of downtown West Palm, and it is a food hall. And so there are test kitchens in there, and there are incubators, and so that's kind of, if you want to check that one out.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Okay, I just want to put some context around our conversation this evening. Since I've been here, and since all of you have been here, traffic has always been at the top of the list. We all live in South Florida. There's a lot of things happening outside of our village, and we've known for many years that we couldn't control all of the things that were happening around us, and we knew all the things happening around us would create more traffic. That's a reality that we live with down here in this beautiful part of the country. There are things being done to mitigate the traffic. As you heard, there was extensive reviews and analysis and studies done before the county would provide approvals from their traffic performance standards. There are requirements that have been defined of road improvements to mitigate the additional traffic. So it's not a situation where there's a project that's happening and nobody's paying attention to how we're going to manage the traffic. We are making efforts to manage the traffic, which we always do. Every project we go through, we have to figure out what we're going to do with traffic. And just want to remind everyone, we're living in an age now where the concurrency laws that were on the books that was stripped away by the legislature some 6-7 years ago, we are now experiencing the reality of the impact of that change. And we're working through that. As a city, we're working through that. We're working with the county, we're working with FDOT. I got to tell you, this traffic light is huge for that intersection. It's something that we've wanted to see happen for a long time. And it's going to happen finally, and it is going to make a difference for that corridor, whether or not this project was going to happen or not. The fact that there's going to be a traffic light there makes a world of difference for that corridor. I just want to talk a little bit about that corridor, because we talked about the corridor study that was done in 2003. When I came on council in 2000, and when I came on council a few years later, this was an issue that kept coming up before the council, because there were different projects that folks wanted to do, and we had to reconcile those projects that were going on with the study from that corridor study and how that applied or didn't apply. But here's the thing that's really been frustrating about that corridor on State Road 7 and Southern Boulevard. For so many years, it's been under the control of 4 different municipalities, 4 different jurisdictions. You had Royal Palm Beach, you had a little bit of it. You had unincorporated Palm Beach County. You have Wellington, and you have West Palm Beach, all involved in that corridor there with no really master plan, rhyme or reason on how that was going to evolve. The closest thing we had to that was this corridor study that was done in early 2000 to kind of go back and reference that as a roadmap, if you will, on how that corridor should evolve. What's relevant to the city, I don't know how many acres, about 200 square acres overall that you've been working on for the past 2.5 to 3 years. This was a bunch of chopped up pieces of land all right? That had no real master plan to it or rhyme to reason. It was these individual little plots of land that this developer has been working on for almost 3 years to pull together, to acquire it, and create something that is a master theme and plan to put there. The notion that we're going to become West Palm Beach is absolutely false. And we're going to be nothing like West Palm Beach. We're going to continue to be Royal Palm Beach. I want to remind all of you who've been here long enough to remember, I remember when I moved down here, if I wanted to go to Carrabba's for dinner, I had to go all the way down into West Palm Beach, to Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard to go to Carrabba's. And I remember when the project came about that we now have in place, we call it the Costco Plaza, because that's one of the main areas, things that's there, how we were so happy to see that we had our own Carrabba's, we had our own Outback. We used to have to go all the way down to Lantana to go to Outback. And the whole concept there was we were doing this was being done for the citizens that live here, so that you didn't have to go that far to have that kind of an entertainment opportunity. It would be right here in your village, and that came to fruition, and it's been here now for a number of years, and they're all doing very well. Well, that's the same theme that we're talking about here. We're talking about when we're talking about entertainment venue, things that people who live in our village can go to, take their kids to, and have enjoyment and have a continued improvement of quality of life without having to travel 10 miles out of the village. It'll be right here in the village. And that's what we're trying to get accomplished here. That's been the theme and the concept that we've been in discussing with this developer for 3 years now, and it's moving along, and it's going to take several years as this begins to evolve. But there is a plan, there's a theme, and the concept is we're doing something for the citizens in our village. If you look at the proximate location, one of the things that you can if you read a map, you can see this is not intruding on the core components of our village. There's not going to be extra traffic on our local streets because of this. If there's traffic, it'll be on State Road 80, which is already a highway, and State Road 7, or people like to call 441. It's both. That's where the traffic's going to be. The road network that was described tonight within this development will improve the overall traffic flow for that corner. It's awful now. It's going to get better as this project develops, and the traffic plans that are depicted here are in fact put in place. So I just want to kind of put that context in place and ask us to take a breath and step back and not overreact to sound bites that sound like there's something negative happening, when in fact, at the end of the day, this is going to be good. Once this is done, it will not intrude on the core components of our village. It will continue to be the same, but it will add a venue within the village that people who live here can go there with their kids and continue to enjoy a quality of life. So with that, if there are no further comments from members on council, go ahead, John.
Thank you. I need to read the ordinance.
You have to read the ordinance, okay.
Thank you. This is ordinance number 960, an ordinance of the Village Council, the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in section 163.3184 et sec Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-009, large-scale comp plan amendment, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 11.200 plus or minus acres, more or less, of real property as commercial, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as Southern Boulevard Properties, Erica Boulevard, further providing for a transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Oh, I thought you were pressing your, okay. All right, well, if there are no further comments from council, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance number 960.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Diane, please let the record show that the agenda item R1 was approved 5-0. And with that, we'll go to agenda item R2, which also is a public hearing and first reading approval of ordinance number 973, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for 8 tracts of land totaling approximately 31.84 acres. And from Palm Beach County's LR2 low residential land use designation to the village's open space land use designation on the village's commercial land use designation located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.7 of a mile west of State Road 7. Bradford, you're on.
Great. Thank you again, Mayor. And not to go over what you had just stated, the site has several single-family homes on large tracts. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to develop the property for commercial uses. Quad 6 is outlined here in the master plan. The properties were recently annexed into the village boundary by adoption of Ordinance 918 and 919 by Village Council on September 17, 2015. In reviewing the proposed future land use map amendment designation of the parcels as commercial, village staff considered compatibility with adjacent considered compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistency with the village's comprehensive plan, and whether the action requested would exacerbate any existing public facility capacity deficits in regards to the roadway network, sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, potable water, recreation, and open space. Village staff has also considered Pod 6 in relation to the overall master plan for this area. A market study prepared by Zabik and Associates dated March 22, 2017 asserts that the demand analysis for this project supports the approval of the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 6. A soil survey conducted by WGI dated June 16, 2018 was provided to the Village of Royal Palm Beach. The soil analysis demonstrates that the soil structure is sufficient to support this proposed development. Community facilities are available in the area to sustain the future commercial development of this site. The subject site is not located within a wellfield protection area. A letter from the licensed engineer Adam Swaney of Ingenuity Group and dated June 1st, 2018 confirms that all drainage criteria will be adhered to as required. The development of the subject site will include the eradication of exotic plant species. The proposed development of Pod 6, along with the proposed master plan, does not meet the characteristics of urban sprawl and is more aligned with and characterized as infill development. Pod 6 is serviced by the Village of Wellington, and per the confirmation received from Village of Wellington on September 9th, 2017, compatibility is available. In regards to potable water, that letter stated that capacity is available for this development. The village has received a TPSO letter from the county stating that this development does adhere to the TPSO, Traffic Performance Standards Ordinance. The development meets all level of service requirements for overall development of 341,000 square feet of commercial. Letters from the appropriate service providers verifying capacity at the proposed density have been provided to the Village of Royal Palm Beach to satisfy Village Code Section 2632 F2 B 1 through 6, and 1 through 6 are shown here on these slides. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment from Palm Beach County's low residential Village of Royal Palm Beach's open space land use designation to the Village of Royal Palm Beach commercial land use designation is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with adjacent future land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level of service standards, and it also consistent with the requirements of Chapter 163 of Florida statutes. Local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 4-1, and staff is recommending approval of this application. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Bradford. Applicant choose to make a comments?
I think we covered quite a bit, so unless you have any questions for me, I'll leave.
So there's nothing new you can add here? No? Okay.
Not at this time.
Okay. Okay. I do not have any comment cards on this agenda item, but if there's anyone here who'd like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing then public comment on agenda item R2 and open for comments from members on council. There are no comments, I'll look for a motion. Jennifer, go read by
Thank you.
title.
This is ordinance number 973, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in section 163.3184 et sec Florida statutes pursuant to a privately initiated application number 0046 large-scale comp plan amendment, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 31.846 plus or minus acres, more or less, of real property as COM commercial, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 6, further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and further purposes. Thank you.
Okay, no comments from council, look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item R2, ordinance number 973.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Item, please let the record show that agenda item R2 was approved 5-0. Agenda item R3 is also a public hearing and first reading and approval of ordinance number 934, an application by Urban Kilday Design Studios. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for a parcel of land totaling approximately 23.95 acres from Palm Beach County's LR2 low residential land use designation and the village's commercial land use designation to the village's multifamily high-density residential land use designation. Located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7.
Thank you again, Mayor.
Is that a typo? Is that correct?
What's that?
0.27 miles?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. We want to be
The other
exact.
one said 7 tenths. I guess I'm getting
Oh, did it?
But okay, go ahead.
Well, this one's closer to State Road 7.
Okay.
These tracts consist of several single-family homes on large tracts. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to develop the property for 318 multifamily dwelling units. Pod 3 is outlined here blue in the master plan. Again, these tracts were recently annexed on September 3rd, 2015.
Voluntarily annexed.
Was this one voluntary?
Yes, there were, the parts of it were voluntary, if I remember, but parts may have been the election.
Okay.
But with a unanimous vote.
Okay. I just want that on the record. That's one.
Staff considering compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistency with the village's comprehensive plan. Village staff also considered Pod 3 in relation to the overall proposed master plan for this area. The market study prepared by Zabic and Associates estimated need for 3,000 apartment units within the 5-mile radius and full absorption of the proposed development to be 18 months from build out of the project. Soil survey was conducted, and this area is sufficient to support the proposed development. Community facilities and services are available in the area to sustain the future residential development proposed by this project. The proposed development of 318 units on the 23.9 acre site equates to approximately 13.28 dwelling units per acre. This density is within an allowable maximum threshold. The subject site is not located within wellfield protection area. A letter from a licensed engineer, Adam Sweeney of Ingenuity Group, confirms that all drainage criteria will be adhered to as required. The development of the subject site will include eradication of invasive exotic plant species. The proposed development of Pod 3, along with the proposed master plan, does not meet the characteristics of urban sprawl. It's more aligned with the characteristics of infill development. Pod 3 is serviced by the Village of Wellington, and per the confirmation received from Wellington, capacity is available. In regards to potable water, capacity, again, is available. As for school capacity, the applicant has applied for and received school capacity availability determination. The SCAD requires a monetary contribution to be provided. It is the stated intent of the applicant that private recreation areas and amenities will be provided within pods 2, 3, 4 for their residents. These private recreation areas can only count for up to 50% of the required recreation area acreage. Level of service standards, pod 8 is intended to be the receiving area of the remaining 50% of the required recreation acreage, totaling 10.7 acres. This project has received a TPSO letter confirming that this project meets the Traffic Performance Standards Ordinance of Palm Beach County. In regards to the level of service criteria outlined in 2632 F2B 1 through 6, these have been covered in this presentation, and the application meets these level of service standards. And here they are. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment from Palm Beach County low residential land use to the Village of Royal Palm Beach's multifamily density residential land use designation is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with adjacent future land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level of service standards. In addition to Chapter 163 of Florida statute, the local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018, and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. Staff recommends approval of this application. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bradford. I have not received any comment cards from the public on this agenda item, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Agenda item R3? No? All right, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R3 and open up a comment from members on council.
Do we want to allow the applicant to have?
Okay.
The only thing I could add is that for the recreation space for this particular parcel, it would be 3.9 acres. That would be part of the Pod 8 public park parcel, whereas 3.9 acres, the other 50% will be provided for private amenities on site.
Okay. You don't have a picture? No, it's okay.
It's not before us.
Okay. Jennifer, you need to read? Okay.
This is he did. This is ordinance number 934, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandate set forth in section 163.3184 at SAC Florida statutes pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-0047 large-scale comp plan amendment, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 23.952 plus or minus acres more or less of real property as multifamily MFH multifamily high, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, and formerly known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 3. Further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and further purposes. Thank you.
Okay. Council, any comments? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll move to approve agenda item R3, ordinance number 934.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R3 was approved 5-0. Agenda item R4 is public hearing for first reading and approval of ordinance number 971. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for a parcel of land totaling approximately 29.36 acres, and from the village's single-family land use designation to the village's multifamily high-density residential land use designation, located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 2.7 miles west of State Road 7.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to develop the property for 401 multifamily dwelling units. The application encompasses the areas shown here in blue and is situated at the southwest corner of Erica Boulevard and Tuttle Boulevard. Again, this area was annexed October 16, 2014. And in reviewing the proposed future land use amendment designation parcels as multifamily high, the staff considered compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistency with the village's comprehensive plan, and the pod in the relation to the master plan. Market study prepared by Zavik and Associates, dated January 10th, 2018, estimates the need for 3,000 apartment units within a 5-mile radius, and proposed development to be absorbed into the market within 18 months of completion. Soil survey conducted by WGI states that the soils are adequate and for this development. Community facilities and services are available in the area to sustain the future residential development proposed by this development. It's within the maximum units per acre. It's not located within a well field. A letter from a licensed engineer, Adam Swaney of Engineering Group, dated December 19, 2017, confirms all drainage criteria will be adhered to as required. All exotic species will be eradicated. This does not constitute urban sprawl. Wastewater has been accounted for, along with potable water, by a letter from Wellington. And a school capacity or a SCAD letter will require a monetary contribution to be provided prior to the building permit. The contribution will be made before building permit if no other solution to resolve the capacity issues can be provided by that time. As stated with the previous application, there will be private recreation provided on site, and the remaining 50% will be provided on Pod 8. And the traffic has been accounted for. The proposed development meets all level service requirements for 401 multifamily units, and is consistent with Section 2632 F2B 1 through 6. And I'll scoot through those. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment from Palm Beach County's low residential land use, the Village of Royal Palm Beach multifamily high residential land use designation is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan and compatible with adjacent land uses. It meets all relevant concurrency level of service standards and Chapter 163 of Florida statute. Local planning agency considered this application on August 14, 2018 and recommended approval by a vote of 5-0, and staff is recommending approval of this application. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bradford. Okay, does the applicant want to comment?
Again, as this is a residential pod, I just wanted to note that our recreation requirement would be about just under 5 acres on site and 5 acres in the public park. So for a total of 10 acres for the recreation requirement. Also something to note is we are at 13.66 dwelling units per acre, well below the 14 dwelling units per acre. And the,
Say that again, slow.
Sorry.
What did you say?
13.66 dwelling units per acre, which is below the
Whoa.
14 maximum dwelling units per acre.
I want to make sure that everybody got that.
I apologize.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Selena.
Do you want to do public?
Did you want to do public comment first?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm losing it. Okay. I missed it because I don't have any public comment cards for this agenda item or for, but anyone wants to come up, you can. If you'd like to comment on this agenda item. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment for agenda item R4. Thank you. Okay, Selena.
Thanks. I think just looking at it, we just approved for Pod 3, so we made that high density, which I understand considering the location that it's right off Southern Boulevard. Regular agenda item number 5 is going to address Pod 4, which is single family, which makes sense considering its location and adjacent to other single family. I'm wondering though if it makes more sense for Pod 2 instead of going from single family to high density, which was the 14 units per square acre, that we go to medium density, which is 12 units per acre instead. Just so that's the combination of the two instead of making that high density as well as Pod 3.
Who would like to comment on that?
I would think that's an applicant question.
Okay.
Sounds like it.
Brian Tuttle, we're doing a mix in the apartments of 3-story walk-ups and townhomes. And the dilemma we have is that, to be blunt, is the rooftops and the impact fees help cover the cost of the roads and the lights. The total development cost of the bridge and the roads and the 2 lights and all the off-sites is about $15 million. It's a big number, and to be honest, you know, it was a big fight with Ray. We had originally had Pod 4 as townhomes, and Ray convinced me with a brick that we would not do that. So, but it is important for us to have that 13.6, and I feel we meet the intent because we are doing a bunch of townhomes in there also, and I think there's I don't remember exactly, but there's 40 or 50 townhomes in there that buffer, but it is important to us. I know it doesn't seem like a lot. We're only talking about a difference of 50 units, but 50 units, $15 million. It's a number that we need. I would ask for the 14 units, which we're at 13.66.
Okay. Any other comments? No? Okay. Any other comments from members of the council?
This is ordinance number 971, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandate set forth in section 163.3184 at SAC Florida statutes pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-0048 at large-scale comp plan amendment, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 29.4 plus or minus acres more or less of real property as MFH multifamily high, which property is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 2, further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to clarify the point that was just discussed. You were asking for a 1.6 reduction, and that would have resulted in how many units?
50 to 60.
50, okay, so 50 to 60, I don't know the materiality of this. To me, what's important, I just want to put in context also, I don't know, how many years was it that we changed our high use from 18 to 14?
About 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago, right? And part of that conversation when we did that, as the applicant had just indicated, he was in conversations with you then, and we were kind of already saying, hey, let's not go crazy with the density thing. And we had been talking about, you know, this is obviously a quality of life issue, you know, how much density you can absorb in new projects. And in those conversations, the council decided that, you know what, let's, you know, kind of put our money where our mouth is about this. And we proactively decided to reduce what was then our high level density of being 18 to 14. And at the time, that was not a very popular thing to develop the development land out there. We got comments and feedback, but the reality is I think they realize, you know, at the end of the day, we're trying to do what's the best thing for the quality of life in our village. So I just want to, you know, show that where we were and where we came from, and that this project being proposed is coming in just beneath that, and that requesting to try to exceed it. So I just want to share that with you. So a little history.
I was here.
Okay. Yeah, you were. That's right. No further comments from council, then I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 971.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
There's a second.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have one opposed. All right, Diane, please show that agenda item R4 was approved 4-1 with Councilwoman Smith declining, opposing. Okay. Agenda item R5 is a public hearing for first reading. You want me to wait till you come back, Richard? You don't want me to wait for you? All right.
There's speakers in the restroom.
Okay. Public, really? Public hearing for first reading and approval of ordinance number 972, an application by Urban Design Kilday Studios. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for 2 tracts of land totaling approximately 4.93 acres, and from Palm Beach County's LR2 low residential land use designation. Is located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, And with that, you're on again.
Thank you again. I'll speak loud so Richard can hear me. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement that the ultimate goal is to develop the property for 106 single-family homes. Pod 4 is outlined here on this slide, and this application is actually for just a portion of this Pod 4, but the ultimate build-out, again, was for the 106 single-family homes. Village staff considered compatibility with adjacent land uses and consistency with the village's comprehensive plan. Also considered Pod 4 in relation to the overall master plan for this area. Market study prepared by Zavik and Associates supports additional single-family homes in the area. The soils are appropriate. Community facilities and services are available for this development. This development does not exceed the maximum allowed maximum dwelling units. It is not within a well-filled recharge zone. A letter from the licensed engineer dated January 16, 2018 confirms that all drainage criteria will be adhered to as required. The eradication of invasive exotic species will occur concurrent with the development of this project. This is not urban sprawl. Wastewater, potable water, letters have been received. There's adequate capacity, a school capacity, availability determination was received, and there's a monetary contribution that is required. The contribution will be made before building permit if no other solution to resolve the capacity issue can be provided at the time. The recreation areas, again, will be half provided on this pod, and then also the other half provided on Pod 8. If the proposed development meets all level of service requirements and satisfied Village Code Section 2632 F2B 1 through 6. 1 through 6 is shown here. I could go back and go through all of this if you'd like, or I can wrap it up. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment from Palm Beach County's low residential land use, Village Rural Palm Beach's single-family residential land use designation is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan, compatible with adjacent future land uses, and meets all relevant concurrency level service standards. And Chapter 163 of Florida statutes, the local planning agency heard this application on August 14th. Recommended approval by a vote of 5-0, and staff is recommending approval of this application. Concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have one more thing to add just on this application for the record. For the previous applications, we had talked about the required Lowe's easement. Just so you know, this is a small scale amendment. It's only 4.94 acres. This is going to be coming back to you for second reading at your next council meeting. It is not dependent on the Lowe's easement. And the reason for that is it is only adding 4 acres to an existing Pod 4. The original Pod 4 was dependent only on the Southern Boulevard Bridge and Road. It was not dependent on Lowe's Road.
Okay.
Just for the record. Thank you.
Okay. Would the applicant like to comment?
Again, I'll just add that the density that is being proposed for this particular pod is 3.14, well below the 5 dwelling units. That, of course, includes the entire acreage of Pod 4, not just the property of land that you're making the land use change for tonight.
Okay. All right, I do not have any comment cards for agenda item R5, but if anyone here would like to comment on that item, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment then for agenda item R4 and opening up to members on council. Okay.
Thank you. This is ordinance number 972, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in section 163.3187 at Sec Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application number 17-0050 small scale comp plan amendment, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map designating 4.94 plus or minus acres, more or less, of real property as SF single family, which property is located on the south side of of Southern Boulevard and approximately 0.27 miles west of State Road 7, US 441, informally known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 4, further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date, and for other purposes. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no comments from members on council?
I would like to say, Mr. Tuttle, considering I handed Mr. Liggins the brick, I would like to make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, we have no opposed. Diane, please show agenda item R5 was approved 5-0. What was that about the brick? Oh, hit him. Oh, okay. Okay, okay. All right, good work. Okay. All right, agenda item R6 is a public hearing for first reading and approval of ordinance number 954, an application by Schmidt and Nichols. The applicant is seeking a change of land use designation for 7 tracts of land totaling approximately 10.17 acres from Palm Beach County's LR2 low residential land use designation to the village's commercial land use designation. Located on the south side of Southern Boulevard, approximately 7/10 of a mile. Now we're back to 7/10. West of State Road 7. Bradford, you're still on.
Thank you. The applicant has indicated in their justification statement the ultimate goal is to develop the property as a 1,500 student charter school. And that area, that pod is outlined here in blue. The application is consistent with the village's review criteria. The applicant intends to develop the pod as a charter school. All the supporting documentation and impact analysis for Pod 7 are based on charter school use. The current development pattern and area encompasses a large, highly traveled thoroughfare. Thus, the proposed charter school development is the most logical transitional use. Appropriate soils. They have all community facilities available for the site and capacities. The well fields will be protected and it's not within a well field zone. The containment of stormwater runoff conforms to all drainage criteria. All exotic plant species will be eradicated upon development. It does not constitute urban sprawl. Water, wastewater. A letter has been received by Wellington. We have a traffic performance standards letter. It says that this application meets all TPSO requirements. The proposed development meets all level of service requirements for 1,500 square foot charter school. And all letters have been received, and it meets 1 through 6 of 2632. Overall, the proposed future land use amendment from Palm Beach County's low residential to the Village of Royal Palm Beach commercial land use designation is consistent with the village's comprehensive plan. Finally, the proposed land use package is consistent with Chapter 163. The local planning agency considered this application August 14th and recommended approval by a vote of 4 to 1, and staff is recommending approval of this application. With that being said, Mayor, I'll turn the floor back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bradford. Applicant?
Yeah, I brought with me Mark Rodberg, and I'd like to have him stand up and describe to you what he's proposing for the charter school.
Sure.
Because as important to you as this charter school is, this is important to me. This charter school is I don't want to say it's as important as the activity center, but it's definitely important for the atmosphere of the center. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Mark. And I'd like you to drill him.
My name is Mark Rodberg, 4500 PGA Boulevard, Palm Beach Gardens.
Would you like to tell us about the charter school you're proposing?
Oh, that was it?
I would. What we're proposing is a neighborhood education facility with the ball fields, gymnasium, approximately 100,000 square feet, with a capacity, with a fully enrolled, ramped up over several years of a capacity of 1,500 students. the range of a K through 12 leaves us the latitude based on the demand. If the parents move into that community and they've got the little ones, we may have 6 first grades, 3 third graders, 2 7th grades, 4 8th grades. So we have the flexibility. Typically, when it comes to the high school level, I just opened one Monday in Boca Raton. It's a 612 SLAM, Sports Leadership Arts Management. And they enrolled the 6th, 7th, 8th, and the 9th grade.
Right.
One 9th grade class to 400 students. I've developed 30 charter schools throughout Florida, including the Renaissance at Albertsons, former Albertsons, and the Renaissance on Okeechobee Boulevard to Oakton Commons. The intriguing part that I got interested in this, I'm working on a similar type project in Pasco County with a developer for 2,800 homes. The districts are struggling to build new schools for a myriad of reasons. And my concept is through phases even. Initially, we may construct 40,000 feet to accommodate 500 children. And then as the enrollment grows, we gear up to it. To provide the modern educational choice, with all the facility being the safest. Spend a lot of energy. I'm going through approval right now in the city of Parkland to develop a 1,285 student school. Is what I see as the way of the future. Now that we're growing again in Florida and new communities are coming about, I'm doing 2 in the south end of Hillsborough County for the simple reason the district is not building schools financially, economically. So they're telling us where they want them, where they would like us to look to situate them. So with the apartments that'll be here, I believe this would be that adhesive that holds it together as a long-term rental community. If the young family moves in with a first grader, I suspect they'll be there through 5th grade maybe before they look at a serious, when they weigh all the factors of do we move? Well, little Johnny, little Sally has got 2 more years to get out of the 5th grade. So I think it'd work well. I just CO'd one last Friday in Port St. Lucie that the initial construction was $40,000 with the cafeteria designed within the first education facility in the classroom wing. And I just added 22,000 square foot, 6 full science labs with gas in the labs upstairs, and a full new cafeteria to accommodate 900 students. This will be their 3rd year and they're up to 900. That's a college preparatory Somerset. So the schools, the vision, this would probably have a multiple of charters, probably a Somerset and a SLAM. There's a charter pending right now. A group showing a lot of interest in it is RISE, which is Renewable Industries, Sustainable Energy, built around the sciences, affiliated with sustainable energies, with the community garden, and the elements that everything that Eagle Arts wasn't.
Okay.
And that's what I get asked most frequently.
Okay.
You know, you affiliated with yeah. So I am only interested to develop high quality education facilities. I'm pretty much agnostic to public, private, or charter. I develop the facilities and seek the approvals and construct the buildings.
So you build it, but somebody else runs it?
Correct.
Okay.
And in this case, it would be Academica would be the education service provider. The models they have is, there's about 11. They run some municipal charter schools. They have 140 schools nationwide. They operate the SLAM, Sports Leadership Arts Management. They have the Bengama, which is a Hebrew second language. There's 6 or 7 of those they run. The Pinecrest Glades, which I'm doing the same thing we're talking about here in Vieira with the Duda and Sons, where they filled the new Vieira area. The school's tight capacity. So the school district and the academic have partnered together to design a 1,250 student K-8. And buying the property from Duda, and we're developing it to fill the void, fill the need. And that county said they won't have money to build a school for 5 years. And they're 125% capacity now. So it's the chicken or the egg. Do the people move there because of the good schools, which is my belief, or are the schools put in after the fact, after the crowding, after the...
To meet the demand.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's about demand.
Yeah.
We can all point to a neighborhood that needs better schools, but there has to be the demand of the community, the neighbors, and the folks.
Richard?
Yeah, the one thing about this concept that intrigues me is I have a child in elementary, middle, and high school. 3 different schools, all here in the village, 3 different drop-offs, and the concept of K to 12 is kind of novel to me because I know we do have, 2 other charter schools here in the village, but I believe they're both K to 8. Are there any in, let alone the surrounding area, but in the county that do K to 12 that you're aware of?
The K-12 model currently is the private school model. The Catholics...
I'm talking about charter, using public funds for a charter school. Are you aware of anything like this that's out there in Palm Beach County? Or would this be the first time?
There's not any in Palm Beach County. The Academica manages several south here in Dade and Broward that have the full offering of kindergarten through 12th grade.
But so this would be a new thing for Palm Beach County entirely to have K to 12 in a charter school, funded by public money context.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
And to throw a little piece, I've got 3 children, 30, 29, and 9. And the biggest decision, and the biggest decision, and we had for the older ones, we had South Olive, Okahili, and then Palm Beach Central. And the Palm Beach Central wasn't a good mix for my daughter. She's getting a PhD next year, but there was a time it looked like you'd never get one. She was that smart. The biggest decision in people's life is what the heck do we do when it's time to make that change? In the deadly part, the critical part is the middle school experience. Whether they get a robust enough academic teaching to be ready for high school. So you're absolutely right. That's the K-8 has taken off. That's the parochial model. Palm Beach County had St. Juliana's. You stayed there till the 9th grade, then you went to Cardinal Newman. So the county is currently really trying to expand the conservatory in North Palm to include high school. They're working with the village or the city of North Palm, I think it's a village, and we've met with them twice on what we could do to build one, even with a bridge across the street behind the village center. So it is, I like it a lot.
Jeff.
Neighborhood school. It's back to the neighborhood schools.
Right.
Kids can walk, ride their bike. The schools is the point of focal point. The community can utilize the ball fields. The kids can use it as almost a secondary park with the arrangements of the school. The parking was situated that it can be utilized non-school hours. And schools are closed every known holiday to man, every weekend. 3 months in the summer, 2 months at Christmas, 2 months at spring. So it's one of the most underused. That's why the solar works, because they can capture the electricity, and there are a lot of people working on that. But we've gone into a cross-use easement with the commercial that they can utilize the surplus parking on the non-school hours.
So the K through 12 continuum idea that's provided by one school is very appealing. I think, as you said, the school district is moving more toward a K through 8 at least.
Correct.
Right, and combining middles and elementary schools for some of the same reasons you were just describing. The SLAM stands for Sports, Leadership, Arts, Management?
Correct.
Okay. So a lot of the charter schools rely upon public parks or recreation facilities. Would you have your own recreation facilities?
Yes, that's why we're going with 10.3 acres.
Right.
We have a gymnasium, we have full soccer field.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, members of council? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay. Public comment, yeah. I have no comment cards for agenda item R6, but if anyone would like to comment at this time, please come up.
Hi, I'm brand new here, first
Okay.
time.
That's
My
good.
name is Leisha. My daughter.
Where do you live?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My daughter goes to a charter school. I have two of them. When we first started going there, they promised K through 8. It was not, we've been there 5 years now. We still have 8th grade. There is 2 Renaissance charters within like 5-mile range. I don't really know, but they're not full. They don't have full capacity. We have a lot of schools out there that are not full. We just keep adding more schools. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying anything bad at all, but we can't fill the ones we have. We have a SLAM down off of Summit. It's not full. They just keep promising stuff and it never happens. When I registered my kids at Renaissance, they promised 8th grade. We're not getting 8th grade. They can't fill the classrooms. They're not going to give us, or,
Which
I'm sorry, we
Renaissance?
can't get
Which Renaissance you talking
Wellington.
about?
The one in Wellington.
Wellington?
Yes.
Okay.
It was supposed to be.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I went there because I was hoping my kids could go to school from kindergarten.
Have them all together.
Yes,
Right.
all the way to 12th. And we still don't have, we have up to 8th grade, and they can't fill the classrooms. And it's a charter school. My question is what's keeping, I don't know what the SLAM is, but I do know that what's keeping the people from filling up that school, filling up other schools? Why do we need another school?
I don't have an answer for you.
I mean, I understand that we're building all these houses, we have all these people coming
They-
in, we're hoping that it's all coming in.
Yeah.
But we can't fill these spots at these schools, and they promise us so much, but we don't ever get it.
Go ahead, Richard.
Well, I could just tell you from my personal experience, because all of my children went to Cypress Trails Elementary, and my oldest one, who is into math and sciences and things like that, got to 5th grade. Next step is Crestwood. He's involved and interested in those things. Crestwood doesn't have a STEM program. There's a charter school at Southern and Royal Palm Beach Boulevard, which scores phenomenally and is one of the best schools in the state, the Western Academy Charter School. They did have a STEM program, but they added the arts, which is STEAM. Luckily, we put him in. He did really well on his scores, and he got in to the STEAM program there. So he did his middle school at that charter school. Now, guess what happened the year after he got into the STEAM program at the charter school? We now have a STEM program at Crestwood. So I guess the answer to that is when there's not a need in the community that's being met by our public schools, to me, that's the purpose of the charter schools, is to have an innovative thing that's not being offered to supplement the local public schools that we have. And that's why, my younger boy isn't into STEM and all that kind of stuff. He's going to Crestwood. But to me, as a parent, that is what the charter school program is for. And that's how it's successful. And I know they run a phenomenal program, but it's a different scenario in my mind where it's run by an individual academy by an educator, as opposed to, like you said, Renaissance run by a big company, and there's multiple ones all over.
Real quick, what keeps it from becoming a Title I school? Because
I would say demographics, but as far as Title I goes, I went to a Title I school and I got free lunch and I pretty much did okay.
Turned out okay, right?
Yeah, I did okay. I got a lot of education. So just because you're in a Title I school doesn't mean the school's not going to be good and you're not going to properly get an education.
Thank you for your comments. I'd like to leave you with two
But I
things.
did go to Florida State, as Selena said.
One is that, we have there's a marketplace that's going on in terms of education in this state between charter schools, private schools, and our public offering. I'll tell you, my son, when he was in middle school, went to a very good charter school, and at that time, they had like a 700-person waiting list to get in. So at the end of the day, it's like anything. Because of your charter school, you got some really good charter schools, and you got some that maybe aren't that good. Same thing is true in our public schools. You got some really good public schools, you got some maybe that aren't that good. So I just want to leave you with that. And the other point, to really try to answer your fundamental question, go down to the next Board of District Commissioners meetings and ask them, because they're paid to answer that question. Okay? Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to.
Anyone else would like to comment on agenda item R6? If not, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R6. You have to read.
Thank you. Ordinance number 954, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in section 163.3184 SEC Florida statutes, pursuant to a privately initiated application number 18-0017 large-scale comp plan amendment, which provides for an amendment to the village land use map, designating 10.174 plus or minus acres more or less of real property as COM commercial, which property is located on the west side of 106th Avenue South with portions on the north and south sides of Acme Road, informally known as the Southern Boulevard Properties Pod 7. Further providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause and a severability clause, providing an effective date and further purposes. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further comments from members on council, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R6 is approved 5-0. Thank you. I think are we done with that project? Okay. All right, we'll move right on to agenda item R7. Agenda item R7 is a public hearing for first reading and approval of ordinance number 974, amending Village Comprehensive Plan Development Plan in order to modify the future land use map series by adding a future land use map 5 to 10 years planning horizon as required by section 163-3177 Florida statutes.
Correct.
You're on, sir.
This is a housekeeping
it.
measure,
This is
and
housekeeping?
that's you just
Okay.
said. LPA approved this by a vote of 5-0, and staff is recommending approval. Thank you. That's it.
You need to add
This is a
anything?
heavy lifting.
No,
part
we
right
need
here.
to have a map.
Okay, we need to update the map.
We need a map.
I do not have any comment cards on agenda item R7, but if anyone would like to comment, now would be the time. Seeing none, I'm closing public comment on agenda item R7. Are there comments from members of council? If no comments from council, I'll look for
Can
a motion.
I need to read the ordinance title?
Sorry, read
Thank
the
you.
title, yeah.
Ordinance number 974, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in sections 163.3177 and 163.3184 Florida statutes in order to modify the future land use map series by adding a future land use map 5 to 10 year planning horizon, providing for transmittal to the State Land Planning Agency, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and further purposes. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no comments from council, then I'll look for a motion.
I move to approve agenda item R7.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R7 was approved 5-0. All right. All right, we're going to agenda item now, R8. Now, this is a public hearing for first reading and approval of ordinance number 975, amending Chapter 5, Animals, by adding an entirely new section 5-45, titled Retail Sale of Dogs and Cats. In order to prohibit the retail sale of dogs and cats at pet stores and pet supply stores, to provide exemptions and penalties, and to provide a phase-out period for lawfully operating businesses. I'll turn this over. You're going to take
I'll do it, yeah, even though I wrote Ray's name on there.
Okay.
This was a strategic plan item that council asked us to bring forward to you for your consideration. I want to start by explaining what Palm Beach County did first to put this in context so that you understand why this ordinance is drafted the way it's drafted. In 2016, Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners had in front of it a very large rewrite of its animal care and control ordinance. And in that ordinance, they did a number of things. They added new regulations for puppy mills, breeders, whether they be commercial breeders, home breeders, they call them hobby breeders. And then they also had regulations in place about licenses for stores, pet stores that sell commercially bred dogs and cats. And the Palm Beach County ordinance, the way it was originally proposed, is that no new pet stores after the effective date of the ordinance could sell dogs and cats, except for lawfully existing ones, and then they were going to have a phase-out period of the lawfully existing ones. When that ordinance went to the county commissioners for a vote, the part about the phase-out was removed. So the county approved an ordinance that says no new pet stores that sell dogs or cats, commercially bred dogs or cats, can come into existence after the effective date of our ordinance, but they eliminated the phase-out period. So existing businesses that were in compliance with the county license, the county requirements for licensure, were allowed to continue operating. This ordinance, we are not allowed, or we try not to be in conflict with county-wide ordinances, because if we are in conflict, that means we have to take over regulating the whole of that topic. So Palm Beach County Animal Care and Control, they do a very good job. They handle a lot of services for us in this village. So we have to be very mindful of not being in conflict with that county ordinance. But like I said, the one piece of the county ordinance that's not covered with commercially bred dogs or cats being sold in pet stores is the phase-out period. So the ordinance in front of you tonight is to propose a phase-out period. So going through the ordinance, I've provided definitions for you of animal rescue organizations, animal shelters, pet store, pet supply stores. We have to set this up to talk about what we're going to be prohibiting and what the phase out's going to be. And just for your information, these definitions were taken from Palm Beach Gardens ordinance and the city of Sunrise. Both of them have done phase outs, and their ordinances withstood constitutional challenges in court. Sunrise was in federal court, Palm Beach Gardens was in a state circuit court.
What was the duration of their phase outs?
Palm Beach Gardens was 6 months, and Sunrise was 8 or 9 months, if I remember correctly. So they were very aggressive with their phase outs. Okay. But I believe they had more than one store as well.
They had multiple stores.
They had multiple stores, yes. So this prohibits the sale of dogs and or cats at retail pet stores and pet supply stores. And it provides basically for the phase out of 2 years. So it's tentatively set for 2 years from the effective date of this ordinance. The reason I chose a 2-year period is we currently have one pet store. We had heard a rumor that they were maybe moving out of the village, but I don't know that for 100% sure. I don't know what the remaining term on their lease is, so I picked a 2-year period. That's obviously for council, that's a policy call, how much you want the phase out to be. I'm more comfortable with a longer period of time, but that's ultimately your
You're
call.
more comfortable from a legal standpoint.
Yes.
And
Risk standpoint.
adverse for the city.
Correct.
Being sued.
Correct.
Okay.
It does not prohibit animal rescue organizations like Big Dog Ranch or a county shelter from continuing to do their adoption activities. If they want to have an adopt-a-thon at a PetSmart or a Petco, that's still allowed. That's not prohibited under this code. So it's to encourage pet stores to do more adoption methods for people to get dogs and cats, and it's prohibiting the commercial sale.
So if I would try to give a short summary, what we're really doing is we're really mirroring the statute in place by the county. We're not modifying that, we're following that to the letter of the law.
That is correct.
But what we're also adding is since they didn't have a phase out, we're putting a phase out for businesses within Royal Palm Beach.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And I can answer any questions you may have. I know way more about this topic now than I ever thought I would.
You've been really immersed in this, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. I have comment cards on this agenda item, and we're going to start with Daniel Ruiz.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Danny Ruiz, and I have been a legal, law-abiding, tax-paying business owner of Star Pups in the village of Royal Palm for over 10 years. I know that it's the intention of this committee to have a great understanding on the item before us and to never allow emotion dictate to policy. To ban any family business in America without true objectivity is criminal conduct. We're here today because you are considering a flat-out ban. You call it a phase-out period. It's a ban of my business, my legal business. A ban that is being spearheaded and information given to you by a commissioner from the other side of the county line. This commissioner has been criminally investigated in her seat, and between her and fellow commissioners, they've made a mockery of their city of Hallandale Beach. Just yesterday in Hallandale, in a meeting similar to this one, this commissioner's fellow commissioner and now former friend was publicly humiliated and publicly accused of, quote, earning a living from anal bleaching. I'm embarrassed to say that and watch that. This humiliated commissioner stated that sexism and sexual harassment is an epidemic in Hallandale Beach. Disgraceful behavior under her watch, and instead of fixing the embarrassment of a circus that she calls her city, she is now here telling you what to do. An affiliate of this commissioner here today, Mr. Don Anthony, posted on his Facebook account his displeasure of having to wait to be heard tonight behind, I'm going to quote him, ass-kissing awards for the cops. That shows Mr. Anthony's lack of respect.
Could you not use any
excuse me, I'm just quoting, I'm quoting the gentleman. I apologize.
Appreciate it. Okay.
It was his word.
This is a family meeting.
It shows his lack of respect for the village. But please understand that the Humane Society that pretty much this packet derives from is not a government agency. They sound like one, but they're not. They are a corrupt private organization that recently paid $20 million to avoid racketeering charges. And just this year, the CEO of the HSUS resigned due to accusations of sexual harassment. And those are the shady sources where you're getting your facts from. This shady commissioner brought this same ordinance before her own county of Broward, and it was rejected and voted down. Just yesterday, a similar ban was rejected in Manatee County in Florida. And in late 2016, this exact ban was brought before Palm Beach County, and they rejected a ban of the existing stores. Instead, our elected county commissioners did their due diligence and research and instructed the county attorney and director of animal care and control to construct an ordinance filled with strict and reasonable regulations that protect the consumer and keeps law-abiding local businesses alive. What research has been done to even warrant this ordinance today?
Are you finished your comments?
Broward County got it right, Palm Beach County got it right, and I urge that you do the same by rejecting and voting no for the ban of my legal family business.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Don Anthony?
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm Don Anthony, Communications Director for the Animal Rights Foundation of Florida. We've got about 5,000 members around the state. Thank you for dealing with this important issue. Remember, when you go to a pet shop, remember that the dogs and cats you see there come from large-scale forced breeding farms where the females live their entire lives in wire cages, usually outside in the blazing summer heat and freezing winters as well. They're often so neglected, you can't even recognize what breed of dog they are just by looking at them. Open sores, tumors, pus, disease, wounds are all pretty common. They're viewed as reproducing machines, and they are bred every cycle. The puppies that come from them are frequently defective thanks to all the inbreeding. So what you have are defective, sick dogs that come from neglected dogs. Now, if that's not bad enough, it's consumer fraud when people buy what they think is a cute, healthy puppy, only to discover that it may cost them thousands of dollars in vet bills. Remember, these ordinances never affect consumer choice. They never affect hobby breeders who have always been able to sell direct to the public and still will after this ordinance goes into effect. They never close stores. That's a falsehood, sometimes known as a lie. They never shut down businesses as opponents falsely claim. Let me be clear, this is not about the stores, the people who work there, how clean or pretty the stores are. It's about the source of the dogs that you see in pet shops, the defective animals that come from cage neglected animals and are delivered to the back doors of pet shops in an 18-wheeler. Consumers will always have the same choices they have right now. If you've just got to have a certain breed, you can get one from a hobby breeder or a breed-specific rescue. There are Doberman rescues, Lab rescues, Greyhound rescues. Even the Humane Society and Animal Control state that they frequently have purebred puppies to adopt. I've always had mixtures, mutts off the street, and they've been the best. If you like, I can bore you to death with pictures. The point is, the biggest stores in the country, like PetSmart and Pet Supermarket, don't sell forced-bred animals, just adoptable ones from the shelter, which is what you'll be able to do here. Thousands of smaller stores do the same all over the country. The only people who are against these ordinances are pet shop owners and high-paid lobbyists for the puppy mills. Most of the worst puppy mills are USDA inspected, so that USDA badge of honor means nothing. You're doing exactly the right thing by passing this ordinance. However, allowing stores to continue operating in this manner for another 2 years is completely unnecessary. I have spoken at dozens of these meetings all over the state, and I've never heard of a transition that long. Most cities go for 90 days to 6 months. If you make that one simple change, you'll have a great ordinance you can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, right on time. How did you do that?
Who's watching?
Is it Michelle Lazaran? Did I pronounce that right? Lazaro. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council members. I am Michelle Lazaro. I'm the Vice Mayor of Hallandale Beach. I am not here on behalf of my city or of my colleagues. I'm also the president of the Animal Defense Coalition. We are a 501c4. And we help to pass laws all across the state. I've helped to pass at least 50 of the 53 ordinances in the state of Florida. Let me thank Tamara Cook, your resident, who first brought this to me, and Councilwoman Smith for bringing this item forward. I know that the Councilwoman has made this a legislative priority, so thank you to her. The county ordinance fails. Grandfathering is the single worst thing you can do where this law is concerned. What that says is we don't like what you're doing, and we're going to make sure no one else comes in here and do it, but you can do it here forever in perpetuity. The county ordinance has failed, the sick dogs still go out, and the consumer fraud still continues. I sent you some pictures earlier today of a van transporting puppies from the Midwest to your local pet store, Star Pups. The documents and the photographs that were taken by the county show that this store does in fact buy from puppy mills. And in those pictures, there's no visible water, no food in the cages. The puppies are cowering in the back of their cages. There are empty water bottles and trash that was strewn in their cages being used as garbage cans. If you don't think it's true, please do a public records request, and I will give you whatever it is that you want to see for proof. This was a case of look over here, don't look over here. There is proof and documentation that this store does in fact buy from mills. Palm Beach Animal Care Control has received 6 complaints in 2018 about Star Pups, including allegations that puppies were sickly, had worms, parasites, viruses, bloody stools, vomiting. And the problem with all of this is that Palm Beach Animal Care and Control, no municipality can regulate transport vehicles. And therefore, the only way to stop this from happening is to ban it. Just this year, Lee County Animal Control had to confiscate 24 puppies on a transport vehicle who were too sick for transport and too sick for sale. This is why puppies are often sold sick to consumers. Palm Beach Gardens sunrise ordinances were challenged in both state and federal court, like your attorney said. These challenges were never made on a phase-out period. They had nothing to do with that. Claims like the Commerce Clause, equal protection were made, but never about a time period which violated any kind of contracts or Bert Harris. I'm not challenging your legal authority, city, town attorney. That's just my take on it. I'm told you'll give the store, if you give the store only 1 year, they'll not renew their lease, which is up in September next month, and they will move to unincorporated Palm Beach County. They'll not sue you, they'll just leave. If you give them longer than 1 year, they're going to stay in your town for at least another year. Whatever you decide, I want to thank you again for your consideration of this important issue intended to stop animal cruelty and consumer fraud. One more sentence. Thank you for joining the other 55 cities and showing other Palm Beach County incorporated cities that they do not need to follow county law, but can stand up and do what is right for the residents and the animals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify your last point, though. We are, in fact, following the county's law. We're just adding that open door. We're kind of closing the open door. Okay. I have no further comment cards for agenda item R8, but if anyone else would like to speak, come on up. But ladies first, come on.
Hi, my name's Lori McHale. I live at 164 Sandpiper. I really wasn't aware of this was going on. I just found out about it this evening. I personally am a foster parent for dogs. I've been fostering for 8 years, pulling dogs that are ready to be euthanized, getting emergency phone calls. I work with about 6 different nonprofit animal rescues.
They're going to be euthanized because of illness or because of?
Overcrowding.
Okay.
Overcrowding. When they're overcrowding, my family, we've pulled pregnant dogs that have come into our home, have had puppies. I actually have fostered 6 sick puppies that have come out of Star Pups, I believe it's called. We have a really serious problem on our hands with a lot of unwanted pets. Puppy mills, everything she said and he said is 100% correct. I've even fostered dogs from puppy mills. You can't socialize them. It's just disgusting what these dogs go through. I'm getting emotional.
All right, calm down.
Okay.
I beg you, please do not give this store another 2 years. Please, we need to phase this out. We need to stop this. 90 days, 6 months max. Please stop this.
Thank you for your comments. David?
I didn't come here to talk about this tonight, but I'll just tell you my experience. I'm sure this gentleman is a good businessman, an honest guy, but the industry that he's in is really problematic, and I want to talk about my experience. I bought a dog, a little carriage terrier, like Toto, and I bought it at a dog store here in Costco. And if you recall, that lady was arrested for animal cruelty, blah, blah, blah. This is what I was left with. Both of my dogs, the back legs here, I think they call it, I don't remember it's a ligament that pulls. $2,000 a shot, okay, per leg, okay. Now, some people say, well, that's part of the breed. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what bothers me every day, if I don't feed my dog by 8:30 in the morning, it ends up throwing up for the rest of the day. So I have to feed her special dog food every day at $45 a month so that, she doesn't throw up. And when she does, it's all day long, and then I have to take her to the doctor. My doctor, Dr. Patty, who's a great doctor who lives over here in our village, she has told me this is a result of puppy mills, interbreeding. These problems occur, and we really need to get rid of this kind of industry. And it's not against you, Joe. I'm sure you run a good, honest business, but it is really problematic, and the council's kind of up against this thing. I'm sure there's many people, just like me, that spend thousands of dollars on their dogs every year, and it gets old. And it's about this interbreeding issue. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, anyone else would like to comment on this agenda item? R8, please come up.
Hi, my name is Deborah Sefko. I don't live in the village in Royal Palm Beach. I do work in Royal Palm Beach, but I drive by your pet store almost every day going to work. My first dog, when my husband and I had gotten married, our first dog was a little Chihuahua. My husband surprised me with it, had bought it from a pet store. The Chihuahua lived 13 years. In the 13 years that he lived, he had multiple medical issues We spend thousands and thousands of dollars, and everything that they have said, the vets have said to us is, it's a puppy mill dog, he's going to have problems. And he did. He had breathing problems. He had a lot of problems. He passed away at the age of 13. Chihuahuas should live a lot longer than that. They're smaller breed dogs. They generally live many more years than that. I've been by Star Puppies. I have been inside of your shop many times.
Just address us. Don't
Okay,
address
I've been inside of his shop many times. I've seen the puppies in there. I've seen them lethargic. I've asked about them and been told that they're just sleeping. They're not sleeping. These are sick dogs. They don't look healthy. They, by all means, I would hope that you all would go in there and visit them, because they are not, they're in sad shape. And it's very disheartening, because I know that these are puppies that are going to be sold, and that these are parents that are going to have the same problems that I had, spend the thousands of dollars. So prolonging this 2 years, all you're doing is going to allow them to sell more dogs out to more people with issues. So I would beg for you all to please think hard about shortening this. And as they also stated, there's many pet stores that do not sell puppies that are still in business. So for him saying that you have to shut down his business, that's total wrong. There's a lot of different small places along with larger companies that have very profitable pet stores that sell products too. They could certainly work with shelters. They could work with rescues to bring in. People come in, they adopt their dogs. What are they going to have to do? They're going to have to get a leash. They're going to have to get a collar. They're going to have to get bowls. They could work with shelters, which is what a lot of the stores do, and that would bring them in a lot of foot traffic and grow their business. But their more important is to spend thousands of dollars to sell these sick puppies. And like I said, it's your consumers that are going to be stuck with these bills, having to pay for these puppies that are sick, because they are. Oh, there's lots of them. I could tell you.
Sir, no comments, please. No, she's not
can
addressing you. She's talking to the
I'm
council.
talking to them. I can tell you, if you go onto the Facebook groups and you see the different ones, people talk about their sick dogs that they got and how they got them from a pet store. When we had gotten our puppy, I had no idea about anything about puppy mills. It was, like I said, it was probably 20 years ago. Now I have all rescue dogs. Please reconsider the 2 years, and please go lower.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. One more person? Come on up.
Mayor, we also have a written comment I know was emailed to the village clerks from Miss Jackie Larson. If we could, did you bring that, Diane, to read that? Thank you. We can read that into the record.
It has to be read? You want to do it?
Yes. Sure, or
after
Diane can. Yes, after this lady.
Okay.
Can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Chris Whitmer. I live here in Royal Palm Beach on Meadowlark. And I just wanted to point out to you that Animal Care and Control, unfortunately, euthanizes thousands of dogs and cats every year. It's very unfortunate due to overcrowding, due to lack of want, whatever, many different needs for that. So I have many rescued dogs myself. I've rescued dachshunds through Dachshund Rescue South Florida. So I really please put upon you to shorten that phase-out time, because there's so many other dogs and cats that are unfortunately being put down. So we need to make sure this is as short as possible, so just so we can save as many animals as we can. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Okay. Anyone else? If not, do I close it before you read it into record?
Yeah, no, I don't have it with me. Do you have it?
I have it up here? Yeah. Which one? I'll give it to That makes it really efficient.
Thank you. Okay, this is from Jackie Larson. She emailed this in today and asked that it be read into the record. For agenda item R8, most of you know me as a longtime animal advocate, so it is with great relief that I see my village is trying to join the countless other municipalities that have banned the retail sale of dogs and cats. The statement in this ordinance about the Humane Society of the United States is just a tip of the horrors that have been documented by the ASPCA, Humane Society of the United States, and other agencies about the conditions these creatures of God endure in breeding mills. Added to that is the emotional and financial grief the new pet guardian endures when they find out the adorable ball of fur they just purchased has chronic, if not fatal health problems. I have known the joy and heartbreak of being a pet guardian through the vast majority of my PAC over 32 years in Royal Palm Beach have been rescues. Therefore, I applaud council for moving forward with this ordinance, and I am glad grandfathering is not included. I do have one comment as to the 2-year phase out of existing stores selling pets. My preference would be to not allow any additional animals to be added to a store's inventory once the ordinance is effective. Why allow another 2 years of suffering for both the animals and people who purchase them when we can stop it sooner? True pet stores are very successful businesses, as the money we spend in this country on our pets annually is estimated at $60 billion. We can't stop internet sales of these poor creatures yet, but we can choose not to allow the suffering to continue in our village. Thank you.
Okay. All right, with that, are you waving your hand at us?
No, I'm saying we don't allow slotting in Hallandale.
Oh, okay. Okay. With that, I will now close public comment on agenda item R8 and open it up for comments from council. Start with Richard.
Yeah, first wanted to address Mr. Ruiz. I can tell you, I don't know where the information you got from, but Ms. Larson, Ms. Cook, and several other village residents have raised this as an issue to me over the years. I mean, this isn't something that's brand new, and I have friends and people I know from outside of the village who have said, well, you know, particularly when the village of Wellington passed one of these ordinances, well, Wellington did it, why can't you? So it's not something, I did get a barrage of emails within the past, week or two, but those are things that, are after the fact, after this was put on the agenda. So this isn't something that's just coming, at least from my perspective, I'm only speaking for me, this isn't something that came from outside the village. This is something from people inside the village. The constituents I represent have brought this to me.
Sir,
this is the first time, this is the first reading for an ordinance. There'll be a second reading as well. But I wanted to clarify with Jennifer, because a lot of people came up tonight and spoke, and the vice mayor from Hallandale commented on the lawsuits that were filed, and according to her, the waiting period has not been adjudicated and we don't know what it is. So Jennifer, our attorney, has suggested a 2-year time frame, and if that hasn't been addressed in court, I'm more inclined to go with what she suggests as a 2-year time frame, because guess what? If it goes to court and if it's been, even if the 6 or 9 years or 9 months gets held up, guess what? There's appeals. Have any of these cases been appealed and been resolved on appeal? Because as we just know from everyone in our community with the State Road 7 extension, that guess what? They lost, and guess what? They won on appeal. So the State Road 7 thing is going back for an administrative hearing from ground zero. So the advice I'm getting from our council, which is a 2-year time period, and that was a consistent theme in all the emails I got as well. And I get it, because I am completely on the side of getting rid of this stuff. But again, on the other side, I'm not for exposing the village to potential liability for a lawsuit for something that could easily be avoided. So I don't know, I'm sure I'm putting you on the spot, Jennifer, but the Sunrise and the Palm Beach Gardens you referenced, I don't know if there's been any finality or a review by an appellate court that it says, yeah, and if it hasn't been addressed at all, then it's still an open question as far as the phase-out period, in my mind.
I was taking a look specifically at Florida cases just because we're here in Florida. So there is litigation outside of this state where shorter time frames have been upheld than the 2-year time, but in Florida, both in the Palm Beach Gardens one and the City of Sunrise, I couldn't find any specific reference to a short, like 6 month or 90 days. Now, in those ordinances, they were short, but the orders that I have from those court cases don't specifically address that issue. So the other point of the 2-year period that I was making is, we do have an existing business, and I don't know when that lease is up. Like I said, we had heard rumors that it may be ending, but I didn't know that for certain. So 2 years was what I was comfortable with the information that I have.
So Jennifer, you mentioned that there were some out-of-state decisions.
Yeah, I don't have all the lists of that. But
I was just wondering if you could remember the rationale for, or any of that discussion at all that had to do with the phase-out period for those that were upheld?
In other words, was that the point of objection, or were there other points that were being objected to?
And
I don't remember specifically, but anytime you're doing a phase out, you have to take into account the existing business rights versus the health, safety, welfare, and the public. So those two things are usually what is weighed by a court in determining whether a phase out period and amortization period is
Right.
legal. So I don't remember the specific cases off the top of my head, but if I had to guess, a court would balance those two factors in deciding whether a short phase out was acceptable.
So what I was hoping to get was some sense of what the criteria for a reasonable phase out period might be. Certainly one of the criteria might be, since we have a single store here in Royal Palm Beach, is what you just mentioned a moment ago, and that is how long does the current lease run? When is that up? I mean, that would certainly be one way to approach it.
All right, Selena.
Is everyone else done? All right. So thank you very much to our attorney, Ms. Ashton, for going through all of this with us. And I would like to thank Lori Brown, Tamara Cook, and Michelle Lazario for helping out with all of this. I, like many of you, have an adopted dog, and we ended up getting ours from Animal Rescue Foundation. So they rescue dogs from kill shelters. See, now you're gonna make me cry. We ended up getting ours from outside of Pet Supermarket. They had an adoption day. We went out there, we adopted our dog, and then we went right inside. We let him pick out his own bed, his leash, his food, and it's a mix also. So we talked about the mutts that others have. So this is very close to my heart. There's some things that I did talk to the attorney about, because considering all these things, the first time frame that was presented, I didn't like at all, which was much longer than the 2 years. So I appreciate her working on that with it. But we did come to an agreement, or maybe a compromise, I should say. So one of the things that I'd like to put in with this is that we change it from 24 months to 18 months. That's something that's more acceptable, or at least would then still abide by, everyone's comfortable with it on the legal side of it. And I would like to add the terminology that adoption does not include a sale of an animal for profit. So those are my two additions to what we already have.
What, you want to change some of the language?
Some language, so this is what we passed
here?
out, correct.
What do you want to add?
So
What's
the
in
term
red?
adoption.
What's in red? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. What about the other one? Oh, it says
It's the same thing,
Okay.
right, just for clarification. of
Okay,
it. So,
all right.
So those were some of our conversations that we had with that, so thank you very much.
Okay. Do you want to speak again?
My only question would be to Jennifer, how comfortable are you with changing 24 months to 18?
Well, before we get to that, let me put a couple of points out, because
It's policy call at this point with you guys.
I'm
I'll
thinking-
defend what
I'm
you
thinking
decide.
it should be maybe 12 months, all right? But there's been an assumption in play here that I think we need to clarify. We're not putting anybody out of business, okay? That's number one. That business has there may be 10 things they do in that business, and maybe this is just one thing that they really need to become compliant with in terms of what the law says they should or should not be doing. That's what we're doing. So this notion that we're putting somebody out of business is a false notion, all right? It's interesting, and I will thank Councilwoman Smith for really getting us as a council to understand more in depth what the issues were around this concern, because this has been a topic of discussion for this council. I'm going to say, at least 18 months, right? Pretty much. And it's always been the policy of this village to follow we don't try to invent laws on our own. We follow the laws of the county and the laws of the state. As mentioned earlier, there's a reality to that on who pays for the enforcement of those laws, and that's real, all right? And our responsibility for fiscal management in this village, we take those issues into concern. So I just want to say the chief discussion here is what the term should be. And unfortunately, the argument for saying, you know what, if it was up to me personally, I'd say stop it tomorrow, but that's not, I can't make that kind of a personal, emotional, stop it, will you? I can't make that kind of a personal, emotional decision representing the 38,000 citizens in this village, and that's who we represent here. We've got to make a decision that makes sense in terms of balancing the risk factors to the village of unnecessary litigation. And I say unnecessary litigation because one of the things that I'm proud of for our village, and we have a great attorney here that keeps us out of trouble, is to avoid unnecessary litigation because it costs the taxpayers money when that happens. And we want to avoid that. So that's really what's at issue here, okay? And that's really how we wound up, in our attorney's recommendation at a 2-year number as opposed to something less than that. Now, with that said, I'd be interested in everybody's comments on Councilwoman Smith's suggestion of 18 months. What do you guys feel about that?
Well, I'll comment on it and just simply say my struggle goes back to a criteria for trying to judge what is reasonable. I mean, my inclination is the same as yours, the same as Councilwoman Smith, and that is shorter is better, okay? But to what point, and that's the difficulty, and I understand the statement about it's a policy decision, but most of the decisions I get myself involved in, I usually find some kind of a criteria, some kind of a reference point, something that says this is reasonable, and beyond it, probably not. Well, this is a struggle.
But this is why I asked
better.
The other towns that were challenged. That's why I asked.
Right.
Their phase outs what? 6 months? You said? In 9 months?
8 or 9. Yes.
So, as a reference point, at least.
Right. Well, it's out there. It's just that it hasn't been tested, and that brings us back to the risk of litigation kind of a thing. So. It's a tough call, it really is. The inclination is to pull it back as far as we possibly can, make it as short as possible. That's mine anyway.
Does that mean you could live with 18 months?
I could, better than 24.
Okay.
I can live with 18 months, but I do defer to our attorney and in what the recommendation is. So if you feel more comfortable with 2 years and you have good rationale, then.
Well, she's going to get a chance to speak on this, but I just want to get hold of the council to see how you guys feel about it. But you can live with 18 months, pending.
I can live with tomorrow.
Well, that's what I said. Emotionally, I like it, but we can't do that. That's
right.
Richard?
I guess I got the problem of being a lawyer because I think of a lot of different things that could be an issue, and there's provision in the Florida Constitution that says that we can't pass any ex post facto law or law impairing the obligation of contracts. And
now you're talking legalese, Richard.
Right, but basically what I'm saying is the government can't come in and pass a law that is retroactively going to affect an existing contract generally. And I don't know what existing contracts exist, and if this is going to be something that's going to impair an existing contract, guess what? That's going to put us on the hook for doing that. And I mean, that's a concern I have, and I don't know if Jennifer's looked at that, but it's, I mean, again, I agree, and I don't dispute that we should do it as fast as we possibly can. But on the other hand, we do have an obligation to our constituents to not put ourselves in legal jeopardy unnecessarily for no reason. I mean, we're looking at the fact that I guess something countywide is permissible. So as I heard tonight, he could go move in the county and do the same thing. So if he can move in the county and do the same thing, and he's been doing the same thing for however many years, what's 2 more years? I mean, if that is more comfortable to the attorney, I'll go with whatever the attorney suggests or thinks basically we can do, but I do have legal reservations about.
So you're not comfortable with 18 months?
I'm comfortable with whatever Jennifer says. If she says 18 months, I go with 18 months.
That's pretty much what Jan said too.
But
I just want to clarify something else that was stated. The notion of opening a new practice, does that fall in as a new business?
They can relocate.
They can relocate
as long as their license is not revoked or in violation with the county, they are allowed to relocate. Yes.
But aren't they in violation though if they are still this practice?
Because they were existing we don't already? Regulate this. This is the county has a very large step process of violations and when licenses are revoked, and we're not going to get into that.
You heard all of our comments. Give us your final recommendation. I'm definitely putting you on the spot.
I mean, it is putting her on the spot.
Jennifer, if you're going to say to us, if you're going to say to us, look, guys, you hear us, But you think changing it from 18, from 24 to 18?
And this is only first reading, correct?
Yeah, increases
Okay.
significant risk.
I've been beating her
You know?
for 2 years over this.
She did get me down from.
Well, I know she got you way down. I know that, yeah.
I did take into account the constitutional issue you
'Cause
raised.
we will take your
And that's why I
recommendation.
mentioned earlier, I didn't know how long the lease would go for.
Okay. Well, I really don't
But-
think that's material, but
Well,
it shouldn't be.
that kind of goes to Councilman Valenta's point, yeah.
The contract
It's-
impairment
it's
does
used-
go to that.
As you
But
would
just,
say,
I do
seriously.
want to say for the record, these ordinances, the ones that have survived litigation, they've survived because of a specific clause in the constitutions across this country that it's not a taking if you're regulating it for the health, safety, and welfare. So that's why you'll see in a lot of these ordinances, all of the whereas clauses in the beginning are setting up the health, safety, welfare argument. So I do want to throw that out there. But I told Councilwoman Smith earlier today, 18 months or 2 years to me, I don't legally see a whole lot of difference in those two numbers. So I was okay with 18.
So you can live with 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I can defend that if I need to.
I heard you? Okay. All right, thank you, Jennifer, I appreciate that. And I hope you, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but that's what you do, right? Okay, with that said, it sounds like our attorney is telling us if we really wanted to move the needle on this thing a little bit, 18 months would work. So with that said, if there are no further comments, I would look for a motion.
I do need to read the
Go ahead,
ordinance title.
read it,
Thank you.
read it, yeah.
This is ordinance number 975, an ordinance of the Village Council, the Village of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 5, Animals at Article 2, Dogs and Cats, Division 1, generally to add an entirely new Section 5-45, retail sale of dogs and/or cats, in order to prohibit the retail sale of dogs and/or cats at pet stores and pet supply stores, to provide exemptions and penalties, and to provide an amortization period for lawfully operating businesses, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 5, Animals shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, a severability clause, and authority to codify, providing an effective date and further purposes. Thank you.
Okay.
So I would like to make a motion to approve regular agenda item number 8 with the changes that the phase-out period be 18 months versus 24 months, and to include the terminology, adoption does not include a sale of an animal for profit.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R8 was approved 5-0. Thank you. Okay. All right, our final regular agenda item tonight is agenda item R9, authorization to include a proposed increase in the monthly stormwater utility fee by $1 per equivalent residential unit, or better known as the ERU, for the Village Council's review and approval during its budget hearing in September 2018 in order to fund water quality maintenance activities in the village's stormwater management facilities. Paul, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and just to start this off, I don't have any dog stories that I'd like to share. Oh, I have some.
Tell me a cat story. I rescued a cat.
I didn't say I didn't
cat
have one.
stories.
I said I didn't have one that I'd like to share.
That was a weekly visit to the kennel up there. That was, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Council, during our budget hearing, we had a lengthy discussion concerning the removal of the floating debris out of our canal system, which is a maintenance activity that we do undertake. The majority of that discussion was concerning aesthetics and recreational use of it, but there's a water quality component too. By moving that debris out, over time, will improve water quality in the system, which is another reason that we do those efforts. To put it concisely, we heard the concerns of our residents, we heard the concerns of council. We're putting this together so that we can have in place. I'll bring an RFP back to put it out, hopefully in October, that we can bring to council in November, and have in place a contract for debris removal that will give us the ability to manage it in the way that you're looking for. we had also discussed and will do a, look at alternatives and bring those to strategic planning. But we want to have something in place with funding that we can do. And the purpose of this here is to do that. The only other management activity that we want to incorporate into that would be the ability to fly the system in order to be able to evaluate it airily, because the best way to see this type of stuff would be through the air. So that's the purpose of this, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
I just want to make sure everyone understands what the significance of this is. We're becoming more proactive and aggressive and getting out in front of it, and by putting this in place, we'll be able to have our contractors on ground with like a 48-hour period, as opposed to waiting weeks because they're caught up already and they're doing other assignments. Is that accurate?
That it would be the goal of the RFP, yes, sir.
Okay. I also want to point out that this is consistent with the approach we've used in recovering from hurricane events. If you recall, the last major hurricane event we had, we were one of the few cities that really got out in front of debris removal, as long as it still took. Compared to what happened to other cities, we did a really good job. But the reason for that is we had pre-contracts in place and pre-commitments in place where the vendors had to respond to us, even though they didn't want to, because they wanted to. It was open market time for them, and they were getting larger payouts by going to cities that didn't have that in place. So we're kind of being consistent with our approach in terms of environmental management, and which is important for the overall quality of life in the village, by taking this approach. And this is something that it's not a one-time thing. This is going to be a recurring model, and that we're going to continue to evaluate and enhance as we need to as we go forward. Is that a fair point?
That is
Okay.
the point, I would believe, sir.
All right. I do not have any comment cards from the public on this agenda item, but if anyone would like to comment, agenda item R9, please come up.
David Swift, 240 Ponce de Leon Street, Royal Palm Beach. I'd just like to put this out there. One, I think the aquatic harvesting program did a very good job. I was very impressed with what happened up in the La Manche area where I live. This is the cleanest I've seen it in a long time. But why don't you, like on June 15th, and I remember us talking about this, take a drone out, and you only really have to look at specific places that, for your house, La Mancha Lake, and a couple other areas where we typically get this. Do a drone, come back and take a look at it and figure out how much money do we want to spend in harvesting this year to do this. I'm having a hard time understanding, do you have enough money to actually do a program like, or do you have to go and rob from Paul to pay Peter, or whatever you have to do? I'll give you an example of what I think. Do you still have 5 major, Commons Park things? You could eliminate one of those 1 year and add it to your program, and then increase their budget. But don't wait till July 1st. Do something earlier and get some pretty good comments, instead of having one gentleman come up and dog you on this all the time. And make it an annual thing so that you know where you're going and what you need to spend for the year. And the last thing I say, Paul, your presentations are atrocious. You really need to work on that stuff. The people come here expect really good information, and you just do a very poor job of doing it. You got to really improve. Thank you.
Thank you for saying
All
that.
right. Thank you for your comments.
I'd like to add,
Comment? Go ahead.
this is something obviously that we've been dealing with as long as I've been here, and we've been dealing with it with one contractor responsible for the biomass removal and the spraying. And what we've always run into is a contractor who underbids, underestimates the biomass that allows for the continued use of our 22 miles of canals for recreation during the months of basically July, August. It's been a consistent complaint. We have over the years have said, well, they're for drainage, they're not for recreation. We're not going to be bothered with that, even though it was still a problem and it is aesthetically not pleasing. And we went through many contractors that do know what they're doing, but they just because of the system set up with them being responsible for both, once we force them under the contract to perform the biomass removal, they were upside down, and this was consistent. Our canal system has the ability to grow this stuff unbelievably in these warm months with the water we get from the acreage, which is nutrient rich from the discharges that they have. To the fertilizers that are put on the lawns around here. So what we're doing is different than what we've ever done before. When we last year bid this to say, you know what, you're not going to underestimate the biomass this time. We're going to give you some estimates. We know it's 300 to 400 cubic yards, could be more, could be less. And we got numbers of $300,000 and $500,000. So we chose not to award that and award the chemical part of it. We feel comfortable with the chemical part and the work that contractor is doing. And we feel that taking this step of what we did when we didn't award that is we did set money aside and we said we would deal with it as it happened. When we had a good week's worth of work for a contractor to come in here and remove that biomass, Paul hired that contractor. He got him in here. Now, unfortunately, it took him a little bit more than a week, about 10 days to respond instead of 3 days. And within that period of time, it got even worse. What we are planning on doing with this is put ourselves in a position where there will be an RFP and a bid and an award prior to the need. That contract, we're going to be putting in there a 72-hour, 48 or 72-hour response time. We'll be evaluating their equipment and their capability of that equipment to pick up the stuff. We'll get hourly rates, so there won't be a whole lot of risk on the contractor. And then we will react more quickly than we have in the past by either forcing through the contractor to pick up the biomass, or finding a contractor throughout the state that can come here. We think it can be handled within the dollar that we're offering you. This particular year, David Swift got up the last meeting, I guess a month ago, and said it's the worst he's ever seen in the 28 years he's been on the council. This week he just said it's the best. So the contractor that was out there that's picking up the biomass does solve that problem. And we did it for I think $30,000.
Between $30,000 and
$35,000. We have that within this dollar amount to do that. Having them completely separate contracts, we feel will put us in a position to react to it. Paul mentioned in his presentation that we are going to put the drone in there. Paul has been talking to drone people that are in that business and got a just ballpark price of $3,000 to $4,000 to fly the entire 22 miles. We do plan on doing that, and we plan on doing that to use that to show the before and afters. I will tell you that again, David Swift had conversations with Bob Haney. Many of you know that Bob Haney that used to work for Water Management District, now works for the Lake Worth Drainage District. He does that for the Lake Worth Drainage District. I had a long conversation with him earlier in the week, and we are going to, when I say we, Paul, myself, and our GIS and engineer Bob had offered a demonstration of what he's doing, the data he's collecting, and how that's working, so we can get a little bit better idea for that part of the RFP. So I think it's going in a very good direction. I think this dollar does save it, and it gives us the ability to say this amount goes to this resource.
Okay.
And I think it's a step different than what we've taken in the past. Is that better, David?
You want to add anything, Paul?
No, I have nothing
You
to add,
done,
but
Dick?
I'll be happy to answer questions.
All right, okay. Anyone else wants to comment on this agenda item? If not, I'm going to close public comment on agenda item R9 and take questions from council. If there are no questions, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve regular agenda 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no opposed. Diane, please let the record show that agenda item R9 was approved 5-0. There's no further business before this council this evening. Thank all of you, and thank all of you who came out to speak with us this evening. We stand adjourned.